At Haundi Special Training High School here. Instead of studying regular subjects, the students focus more on practical combat training. At this moment, one student is surrounded by 10 others. But he remains very confident because with just a flick of his finger, he can summon a large iron axe. Even though the number of enemies is high, it's not a serious problem. Because with a swing of the iron axe in his hand, he can break through their defenses. Park Jyn Sung, you useless jerk, stop just standing there and watching. The young man with red hair in the attacking group angrily looked at another male student standing in the corner of the yard and yelled, but the student named Jyn Sung just scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. Because he knows that participating wouldn't help this useless jerk at all. Just wait after we finish this fight, I'll deal with you later, the red-haired guy yelled in frustration. That's right. Park Jyn Sung is our main character, but as everyone can see, he has no abilities and the others feel unfortunate to be on the same team with him. The proof is that after that training session ended, Jyn Sung was beaten down by the red-haired student, and a few others, no matter how much he was hit or scolded, he showed no signs of pain. In fact, Jyn Sung kept laughing, ha 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 ha. I'm really sorry. But just like that guy said, what can you expect from a bottom-tier guy like me? Jyn Sung's provoking attitude only made the opponents angrier. He threw a punch, but this time he countered by running away. Looking at the locker that was deformed by that punch, it was clear that Jyn Sung made the right choice to escape. This level of pressure is exhausting for us, so we'll only hit you 10 times. Consider it a replacement for the 10 members you affected. The bespectacled student next to the red-haired guy spoke up. Jyn Sung swallowed nervously because just 10 hits with that punching power. If I take 10 hits, there won't be anything left of me. He definitely doesn't want to be beaten throughout the entire break, so in the 36 strategies, running away is the best option. Jyn Sung decided to run for his life while shouting for help. Of course, the shouting was just for show. No one would bother to save him. The students from other classes seemed accustomed to seeing Jyn Sung run away like a rat every day. So they just saw it as a fun spectacle instead of a long-running drama, and the result, as always, was that Jyn Sung was left alone and couldn't escape from his classmates. Those violent ones. When surrounded by them, he could only helplessly remind them not to use EDA or else it would hurt too much to bear. Don't worry, we will control ourselves. We'll only hit you enough so you won't go whining to teacher Jiang Ho. You know we are banned from using EDA at school, right? After the bullies finished speaking, they started hitting him, punching and kicking him mercilessly, giving Jyn Sung no chance to defend himself while the other students watching this scene were very entertained. In fact, they wanted to hit him harder because they thought having to share a class with a bottom-tier trash like him was a disgrace. As for Jyn Sung, at this point, he had been beaten to the point where he couldn't straighten his back anymore. However, he still wanted to express what he was thinking in his head. You guys, I actually think our team's loss isn't because of me. Jyn Sung really dares to say anything. This also means that these people are so useless that even with 10 of them, they still lose. Having you here won't change anything, just as predicted with your comeback like this. The more it infuriated those boys, but when they were about to beat you up again, the teacher pushed the door and walked into the classroom, telling the kids to sit down. Today, I have good news for you all. Since the teacher has arrived, those bullies dared not continue their actions. They ignored Jyn Sung sitting in the corner of the classroom and quickly returned to their seats. Jyn Sung breathed a sigh of relief because he finally wouldn't get beaten up anymore and crawled back to his desk, wondering what was going on that made the teacher look so serious. At the podium, the teacher slammed the board a few times to signal the students to be quiet, then announced that their school had officially been recognized by the government. Contrary to the teacher's excitement, the students seemed very indifferent, even somewhat annoyed. "Oh, teacher, with your tone, there must be some new rules coming from some corner." Write this kid's name as Byun Jizon, a typical bully at school with basic fighting skills, looking at Jizon's rough legs resting on the table. The teacher couldn't help but remind him that the break time was over, so put your legs down. Jizon put his legs down, but he still casually retorted, "Can we stop doing this meaningless stuff?" Their homeroom teacher just shook his head because he wasn't the one to decide this matter. So the little devils in the class had no choice but to gradually get used to the new rules. Moreover, he didn't forget to remind them that this time, their school was recognized by the government thanks to the outstanding performance of the third-year seniors, after which the teacher officially announced the new rules. That is starting today. Their school officially became a trial zone for the military system, meaning that students would also receive military ranks based on their performance. The homeroom teachers of each class would receive military ranks starting from lieutenant and the position of squad leader. He had become the squad leader of Squad 10. No wonder he was so excited. "We are Squad 10 because we are in 10th grade. What are they turning the students here into?" Byung-jizon grumbled. "Stop complaining." The homeroom teacher said this was the government's proposal, so do your best. "From now on, we will be comrades. During training, you will have to salute seriously like in the military. Now there will probably be a bunch of people trying to recruit students from our school." The homeroom teacher kept talking endlessly, but down below there wasn't a single student who seemed excited. Jyn Sung was one of them. And with his straightforward personality, Jyn Sung immediately asked the teacher, "Sir, what if we don't want to study in a military style?" The homeroom teacher shrugged and said that the school doesn't force anyone, so if anyone doesn't want to, they can request the government to transfer to another school. However, he kept reminding them that this was a valuable opportunity, so only a fool would want to transfer schools, while the students really didn't know how precious this opportunity was. Where after that, the homeroom teacher then pulled out from the cardboard box, he brought a pile of military ranks, saying that the third-year students had completed a major mission that helped the school be appointed as a military school. And all of them had received the rank of sergeant. The top students of the second year became corporals, while the rest were all privates. But first-year students will begin with the private second-class rank assessment that will be conducted by your squad leader at any time. Feel free to find me anytime. I will help you to the best of my ability because your future depends on this. The homeroom teacher reminded the students that the military insignia should not be attached to the uniform, so they must keep it safe as there will be a roll call later. The student was told to stick this insignia on after he had distributed the insignias, and only Jyn Sung was the only one without one and when he intended to question it. The homeroom teacher had already used an annoyed tone to warn the entire first-year cohort that there was only one student who could not receive a rank. "Private Jyn Sung, you will start as a trainee soldier." Jyn Sung couldn't even believe his ears. What did the teacher just say? It didn't stop there. The next day, Jyn Sung was called to the teacher's office very early, and the reason was to discuss his future. After that, the teacher didn't even bother with any lengthy preamble. He directly asked when Jyn Sung would transfer schools. This shocked Jyn Sung. The school seemed tough for him, and I knew that. "When our school turns into a military academy, you won't last long, Jyn Sung." The teacher's words indeed had a heavy impact, yet Jyn Sung remained determined to respond. "Teacher, you have to see the hidden potential within me. Who knows, maybe I will do well unexpectedly." Nevertheless, the homeroom teacher's reaction was not what he expected. Specifically, he burst out laughing and said that Jyn Sung was really funny. Of course, Jyn Sung wasn't foolish enough not to recognize that this smile had no sincerity. There was not a shred of goodwill in it. He even knew that from the first time the teacher saw him, he had always mocked and looked down on him, Jyn Sung. Since the ranking system was established to classify students' life at school has been incredibly difficult for him. "You know I can't pay attention to isolated students?" the homeroom teacher continued. His words only made Jyn Sung more uncomfortable. The teacher indeed thought he couldn't do anything but get bullied. And he didn't want a student of such low rank in his class. At first, it seemed like he thought Jyn Sung would voluntarily drop out because he was bullied every day, but since Jyn Sung seemed to be holding on well, even as a bullied target, it was understandable that he called him here. "There was no reason for anyone to need a rank F like you. By the way, I'm a bit curious," Jyn Sung suddenly asked. "Do you think souls have ranks?" In response, Jyn Sung received an even bigger smile that reeked of contempt than before. "Are you joking with me?" "Of course they do. I know everyone thinks that way, but I don't believe it," Jyn Sung replied to this. His expression looked particularly serious, and the conversation ended there as the class bell rang. After entering the class, the homeroom teacher of Jyn Sung's class requested the team leaders who had now turned into squad leaders to report the number of their teams. Many students, feeling uncomfortable having to put on this military act, especially Jyn Sung or that name Byung-ji-sun. "Teacher, do we really have to do this?" He raised his hand in annoyance and asked Byung-ji-sun, squad leader of Squad 3, right. "Don't ask too much, just do as I say." The homeroom teacher clicked his tongue and then grumbled that in class 3 out of 10, 2 were absent. One was in the restroom and the other he hoped would just disappear. There were 8 present, and Ji-sung hoped that the one who was absent would just vanish, which was Ji-sung himself, not much different from any other day, even though it had turned into a military school. He still had to endure the ridicule of his classmates, and the homeroom teacher showed no sign of defending him after the roll call was finished. He announced that today, instead of studying in class, the whole class would have an outdoor event where government inspectors would blend in and even the school didn't know who they were. These people would observe how students reacted to the sudden change in environment. "Sir, get to the point," one student urged. One student, losing all patience, spoke up. "It's like holding a lamp in front of a car," but it couldn't be denied that none of the students liked to hear him ramble on. So he had to get to the main issue. Today's event was a competition involving the first, second, and third years, and the matches would be chosen by the inspectors mentioned earlier. Jyn Sung thought he could continue to play the role of a spectator to kill time, but who would have guessed that the first match would be between Team Beyonce and Squad 1 of Year 3. They only had a mere 20 minutes to prepare for the match. Jyn Sung was also in Jison's squad, so he was on the verge of going crazy after hearing the teacher's announcement. The other boys teased him relentlessly for having to team up with a rank F student, making Jison even angrier, while Jyn Sung was the main topic of their gossip. He remained indifferent, slumped over his desk from boredom until Bayon Jison approached him and shouted, "Hey, Trash, did you just call me?" Squad leader Jyn Sung responded only to be aggressively grabbed by Ji Sung by the hair. Jyn Sung's attitude made him extremely annoyed, and he even intended to beat him up before heading out. Squad 1 of Year 3 had a monster named An Sung Ho. Even the top players of the class would find it hard to compete against him, let alone with a deadweight rank F like Jyn Sung on the team. So even before stepping onto the field, Jyn Sung already felt the outcome was clear. 10 out of 10 we would lose anyway. "So whether I'm here or not doesn't matter, right?" Jyn Sung asked foolishly. "With a loser like you, we're bound to be pathetic." Jyn Sung lunged forward, grabbing his collar. "If our rank drops, will you take responsibility?" Jison looked fierce, but in reality, Jyn Sung was already unfazed, so no. He was scared, but Jison was just a rank C EDA, and his rank wasn't high enough, so whether they dropped rank or not didn't make much difference. Jyn Sung even had the audacity to say these words. Jison was so provoked by him that he felt like exploding, but he couldn't hit him because he still had to go out there. In fact, for Jyn Sung, getting beaten up right here or outside by that group of Year 3 students wasn't much different. However, Jyn Sung came up with a bolder idea. He wanted to appoint a useless rank F like Jyn Sung as the squad leader this time. "Can you handle it?" Jison rubbed Jyn Sung's head like a dog and asked in a threatening tone, "Ha ha, I'll do everything you ask." Jyn Sung reluctantly replied, "Fine. From now on, you'll be my meat shield, got it, Trash." And so, Jyn Sung was forced to step into the arena with the responsibility, just as Jison had said, to become his meat shield. All the students in the school had gathered to wait for the battle. On the other side, Captain An Sung Ho carried an intimidating presence, and the homeroom teacher told him to feel free to showcase his skills because this battle would have recruiters present. The Captain An Sung Ho, with an intimidating presence, told the instructor to relax and showcase his skills, because this battle would have recruiters present. Above observing without just being a spectator, all members of the third-year squad looked equally terrifying, while the team of Ji Sun appeared clearly at a disadvantage. After that, the referee handed the captains of both sides wristbands that have the effect of using Ida's power to protect the wearer from shocks, but they will break if subjected to too much force. Ji Sun personally put this bracelet on Jyn Sung's wrist, hoping that with it, he would be able to endure a little longer in front of a large crowd while he gripped Jyn Sung by the collar. It was no different from treating him like a dog, but even if Jyn Sung weakly resisted, it seemed to have little effect, and it didn't stop there. Because the organizers considered the experience gap between second and third years, they set an additional condition that Jyn Sung's team only needed to hold out for 5 minutes to be considered the winner. But even so, the members of his team felt that they had no chance of winning. Jyn Sung silently set a 5-minute countdown on his wristwatch. Then he thought to himself that 5 minutes would be a win. If we really win, will the teacher consider my request to transfer schools? The 5-minute countdown officially began as the referee signaled the start of the battle. Ji-sun grabbed Jyn Sung by the collar like a dog and ran backward. His battle objective was very simple. Just hold out for 5 minutes during those 5 minutes. Just use Jyn Sung as effective meat shield. But his actions left all the remaining members extremely confused. Ji-sun, give us orders. What about the formation? The third-year seniors are coming. You need to say something. Everyone looked very panicked, and Ji-sun was equally tense. After pulling Jyn Sung far back, he shouted, "Everyone be quiet. The third squad just focus on protecting me." If we hold out for 5 minutes, we win. The senior students showed no mercy towards their juniors. In the blink of an eye, several had already been taken down. Down besides the chaos, there was also a very fierce girl in this team, and during the fight, her gaze was fixed directly on Beyonce as she charged forward at high speed. Jyn Sung had tightly grabbed Jyn Sung and forced him to block attacks for him. Jyn Sung was extremely confused while he continuously cursed him as a piece of trash. The opponent was getting closer. Accidentally glancing to the left, Jyn Sung saw the homeroom teacher giving him a thumbs up. He sighed heavily. This situation was indeed uncomfortable. At the last moment, when the girl was about to attack, Jyn Sung separated from Jyn Sung and ran in another direction, but what happened next was even more surprising. He managed to block the girl's attack. Jyn Sung's gaze at that moment was also extremely cold, which forced the opponent to quickly summon her Ada, which was a suit of silver armor condensed from Ida. Jyn Sung immediately showed an expression of admiration, continuously clapping his hands. Wow, that armor looks amazing. Both in appearance and function, it was Ida. Don't play dumb, you just reacted to my speed, didn't you? The girl was annoyed and questioned. That's not very important. What's more important is that your captain is running away. Jyn Sung pointed at Ji-sun, who was running away in the distance. Then he glanced at the watch. There were still 3 minutes and 5 seconds left until they would win, and he had to stop this girl at all costs. However, the way Jyn Sung chose was not to fight with strength, but to use his words. He began to stall for time in front of the girl. Sister, can I call you Nuna? I don't mean to flirt with you or anything. Oh, no. I'm sorry, did I make you angry? Then I'll just call you Senior. It's not hard for the opponent to realize that Jyn Sung is pretending to be clueless to buy time, but this tactic has no effect on her. Beyonce's zone has someone else handling it. The only thing this girl is focused on right now is the person in front of her, and she has asked Jyn Sung to quickly summon her Ida. Yours seems to be the most valuable compared to your teammates. Why are you so hasty? You should know that the most important factor is to keep a cool head. This is something my dad often tells my mom when he gets scolded. Jyn Sung still seriously rambles on, seeing that the opponent is turning purple with anger and charging towards him. Jyn Sung has no choice but to concede and say he will summon Ida for the opponent to see. This demeanor is indeed so serious that it makes the girl tense up and swallow hard. But after counting down 3 seconds, what appears in Jyn Sung's hand is just a regular dagger with no special skills at all, yet he holds it with a proud look. This situation makes the girl unable to suppress her boredom. Then she remembers that there seems to be an F-rank guy in the opposing team, which people often talk about, and Jyn Sung does not deny it. He directly admits to being that infamous F-rank guy. Seeing this, the girl lets out a long sigh and turns to leave. She feels she has made a big mistake. At first, she thought Jyn Sung was the most valuable player on the team because of his quick reflexes. Who would have thought she wasted her time listening to an F-rank loser? Behind her, Jyn Sung continues to boast about his dagger driving the opponent crazy. If you keep walking, I will attack you from behind. This is your final warning. Can you hear me? Jyn Sung shouts loudly. I have no reason to waste time with you in this time-limited battle. The opponent, losing patience, turns around while speaking. Who would have thought that when she turns back, she sees Jyn Sung tightly gripping the dagger charging towards her for real? Initially, he thought the girl would continue to ignore him, but her reflexes are indeed quick. When Jyn Sung's dagger lunges at her, she blocks it with her arm. That's silver armor. Truly high quality, sturdy enough to leave no scratches. In this awkward situation, the only thing Jyn Sung can do is smile confidently and say some meaningless phrases to cover up his embarrassment. Haha, your armor is indeed as tough as it looks. The students outside, seeing that Jyn Sung really caused no damage, burst into laughter, and the girl opposite him even looks a bit flustered. The group of students outside burst into laughter upon seeing that Jyn Sung was unable to inflict any damage, and the girl across from him even looked a bit confused. A few seconds later, she turned away and sighed. No matter how good your reflexes are, your EDA is just trash. I have confirmed that it has no effect. So let's stop here. Hearing her say that, Jyn Sung knew that he could no longer prolong the time. Even though he had tried his best, there were still more than 2 minutes left until the end of the match, and that was more than enough time for this third-year team to wipe out Jyn Sung and the others. As expected, after pushing Jyn Sung aside, the senior immediately charged at Jizan, continuously berating him for not being able to hold off the opponent for 5 minutes. This action only made the girl look down on Jizan even more. He was just a cowardly runner who could say such words. With each step of the opponent, Jizan stepped back another step. Senpai, I'm just going easy on you. You should stop there. Jizon threatened the opponent, but his trembling voice and pale face betrayed his true emotions and the fear he couldn't hide. This only made the girl find it even more ridiculous. Oh, so you don't need to go easy on me. Let's see how you perform. If you want more in Sung-ho, then prove it. Saying this, the senior charged aggressively. Just as Jizon felt he was about to be knocked down, he suddenly stepped on an important rock, which was actually a submerged stone. A proud smile immediately appeared on his face as if he had secured victory. Seeing this sudden change in Jizon's expression, the opponent became even more curious. So when are you going to prove yourself? If you want, I will show you right now. Saying this, he squatted down, placing his palm on the ground, then began to pull up that stone to the astonishment of everyone, including Jyn Sung, who all knew his EDA was level C. But seeing this scene, it seemed that Jyn Sung had hidden his true abilities. Jyn Sung didn't have time to think much and warned the girl. It's very dangerous. Senpai in armor Jizon's ability is to pull something that is stuck and throw it away. Normally the level is C+ or B and the combat ability is B or C. If it is an object that is stuck, it can be used as a weapon, and the fixed weight of the pulled object can be ignored. It depends on the user's ability with this power. Contrary to Jyn Sung's worry, the girl seemed incredibly excited after witnessing Jizon's actions. Oh, so you're not running away anymore. Are you waiting for the EDA to appear so you can use that stone? Haha, Senpai is really smart. Jizon laughed loudly after that. He lifted the stone and threw it straight at the opponent. Now disappear. Turn into the path that I can crush to showcase the essence of EDA. The more Jizon laughed, the more excited he became. It seemed he was extremely pleased to take down a third-year student, but whether he could take him down or not was still uncertain. Just then, a cold voice rang out from behind Jizon. He turned around, and before he could see the owner of that voice, clearly he was pressed straight down to the ground. Jyn Sung was forced to land face first, and of course it wasn't pleasant. He was both in pain and furious. Ben shouted, "Damn it, why did you sneak attack like a coward, senior?" Just as he was lifting his head, he spotted the gigantic rock he had just thrown. Still hovering above the senior girl was not crushed as he had thought. Jyn Sung's abilities were indeed stronger than she imagined, but based on her own ideas, this girl could still resist. Just when she was about to muster all her strength to shatter the rock, it suddenly exploded due to another force. It was no surprise that Sung-ho was the author of this. However, instead of feeling grateful, the girl's face showed clear disappointment. This was supposed to be a good opportunity for her to showcase her dignity, so why did you interfere? Captain Sung-ho replied that the attack was a bit dangerous and he was just fulfilling his duty to protect the team members. Little did he know the girl became even more frustrated upon hearing this. With both hands clenched into fists, she gritted her teeth and questioned him. "Are you saying I can't handle it?" "Julia, you can definitely deal with that rock." Sung-ho reassured her, but that jerk wouldn't just stop there. As he spoke, he turned around and saw Jyn Sung holding a baseball bat ready to sneak attack him. Unfortunately, all of his actions were already anticipated by Sung-ho, so Jyn Sung was brutally knocked down to the ground in pain and humiliation. Watching this from afar, Jyn Sung could only exclaim, "Oh my God, you really are stupid, Captain." But just at that moment, Sung-ho's icy gaze shifted towards him, and Jyn Sung immediately felt a chill run down his spine. He quickly raised both hands to surrender his weapon. I give up, okay?" However, An Sung-ho continued to approach him, but his tone was much gentler now. It turned out he just wanted to know why Jyn Sung warned Juyeon to be careful when Ji-sun activated. Ada of mine, meanwhile, both sides were clearly opponents. It's just that our captain is a bit lacking in controlling his anger, that's why I did that. Since he didn't know what Jyn Sung was capable of, Jyn Sung replied, "You're really a master liar, aren't you?" Sung-ho chuckled lightly, and then suddenly lunged at Jyn Sung even though he had surrendered. Jyn Sung's wrist was tightly grasped by the opponent, and the dagger in his hand was knocked high into the air before falling down. With his incredibly quick reflexes, Jyn Sung managed to catch it. "Please listen when someone else is speaking." He voiced his frustration while also breaking free from the opponent's control. Both Jyn Sung and Sung-ho immediately stepped back to maintain a safe distance from the enemy. You may not say anything, but An Sung-ho's expression was very poor at that moment because through Jyn Sung's recent actions, he sensed that the kid was definitely not a useless person. That second-year student. Who exactly are you? The murderous intent radiating from Sung-ho could no longer be hidden. I am a member of the 2nd Squad Team, 10 Unit 3 North Jyn Sung, possessing ETA Level F, Jyn Sung replied loudly. Seemingly unaffected by the opponent's fierce aura, the countdown clock showed only 1 minute left. Sung Ho looked annoyed that his opponent was not focusing on him. Meanwhile, Jyn Sung really didn't want to clash with him at all. He continued to use his old trick of talking nonsense to buy time, but this only made Sung Ho angrier. Are you trying to stall for time? I really hate people like you. What do you want? What do you think I can do alone? Jyn Sung said while retreating. Instead of stalling, why don't you try to win against me? Sung Ho suddenly asked. Effort, Jyn Sung chuckled. I'm just an F rank, what can I do? This is not a warning, but rather advice. Everyone says in this match, the scout leader will select students who do not perform well, and those lacking skills will be expelled. At this moment, Jyn Sung felt a chill, it turned out. This was the reason why at the start of the match, the homeroom teacher looked at him with that ridiculous expression. It turned out he had always hoped Jyn Sung would be expelled. Out of the school, it's lucky that Sung Ho told you that. Jyn Sung's right hand suddenly tightened around the dagger. Then he sighed and said to Sung Ho, Senior, I don't want to be expelled. If you're my opponent, then I don't know what will happen after this match. Are you still okay? The words Jyn Sung spoke sounded humorous because in everyone's eyes, he was the trash among trash who would have thought that right after saying that. Jyn Sung's body reacted with hot blood seemingly boiling and veins popped up on his face. Jyn Sung's dagger was indeed just an F-rank dagger. With a combined fighting ability also at F-rank, a normal dagger had no special capabilities. However, after this rapid transformation, somehow Jyn Sung's physical strength had tripled compared to his original strength. He could see the opponent's critical point and also knew the most effective way to destroy them. With his current skills, only by completely destroying the opponent's ETA or taking their life could this ability cease. At this moment, Jyn Sung had lost all reason and was obsessed with the desire to take his opponent's life. This was the true ETA of Jyn Sung, something he always wanted to hide. Because it was a true killer, an S-rank ETA that could easily take another's life, this bloodthirsty transformation in Sung's eyes. Coughing had nothing special. All he saw was just Jyn Sung's vacant gaze. But Sung Ho could also sense that the F-rank dagger was not all of Jyn Sung's ETA, which made him particularly vigilant now. Jyn Sung could see all the information about Sung Ho as well as his abilities. His ETA was named, I will definitely catch up with you, a B-rank ability. But it also produced an A+ rank total attack capability, which meant Sung Ho could definitely catch anything he aimed at, specifically within a certain distance. Sung Ho could teleport to his target B rank. His abilities are much worse than I thought. Jyn Sung arrogantly said just one simple sentence, but it sent chills down Sung Ho's spine. Clearly, the teenager in front of him was no longer the kid who always babbled like before. Moreover, what he just said implied that he could see others' ETA. Hey, sorry I can't hold back anymore. A twisted, inhuman smile appeared on Jyn Sung's face, but you will definitely stop me, right? As he spoke, Jyn Sung raised the dagger towards Sung Ho. He could feel the terrifying killing intent choking his throat, and moreover, Jyn Sung's emotions at this moment were completely unfit for his identity. It was as if he had completely transformed into another person. I know you'll be fine, Senior. I can trust you, right? Jyn Sung continued, then twirled the dagger in his hand provocatively. Outside the arena, the students acting as spectators couldn't see Jyn Sung's unusual expression clearly because they were too far away. Jyn Sung continued speaking, then twirled the dagger in his hand provocatively. The students acting as spectators were too far away to see Jyn Sung's unusual expression clearly. They couldn't hear what the two of them were saying to each other. They only saw both of them standing still and speculated that Sung Ho might even feel Jyn. Sung wasn't qualified to fight him one-on-one. Who would have thought that Sung Ho, known as the monster of the school, was now sweating profusely? His opponent, Jyn Sung, didn't seem to need to defend himself at all, yet he revealed no openings. Not far away, Julie, the senior who had just fought Jyn Sung, was also being suffocated by the energy Jyn Sung was emitting. She truly rated his speed quite highly. But the strength he had now was nothing like before. Julie didn't know what this atmosphere was. She only knew she couldn't leave her captain behind. The other members of the third-year team were completely oblivious to any abnormalities and were happily chatting, knowing that Sung Ho had more than enough strength to handle a useless level 1. Until they saw Julie's body trembling violently, she stammered, "I request all members to attack," and after saying that Juyeon was the first to rush forward. This sudden action caught Jyn Sung off guard. He had just been brimming with energy and was now pinned to the ground by her, but Jyn Sung didn't seem troubled at all. Instead, there was a hint of mockery in his voice. "Haha, senior, your armor is too heavy." Next to that, and Sung Ho was also looking at Julie with a puzzled expression. "What's going on, Julie?" The serious-faced girl replied that she just wanted to protect her teammates. Just like how Sung Ho had done earlier, even the third-year team was so confident that several of them rushed together to subdue Jyn Sung on the ground, witnessing this scene of 6 against 1. Sung Ho truly felt a sting in his eyes. "You guys don't need to protect me," he said. "Are you sure, senior?" This question came from the 11th grader, who was being pinned down by several 12th graders. And before Sung Ho could react to this remark, Jyn Sung counterattacked. Just moments ago, they had attacked him in the blink of an eye, but now Jyn Sung's speed was much faster, even not giving anyone a chance to clearly see his movements. The barrage of attacks came so rapidly that no one had a chance to react. "I'm not too sure." Sung Ho suddenly laughed in confusion at everyone. "But Julia, you should release your idea before it breaks." As soon as Young Ho finished saying this, Juyeon's armor shattered, and she stared wide-eyed in shock, unable to believe that Jyn Sung's previous attack had caused so much damage. It didn't stop there. The arms of the remaining team members had also been broken. Jyn Sung's speed was so fast that they didn't even realize he was the culprit at that moment. His true murderous state had also been lifted. Jyn Sung continued to lie flat on the ground, cosplaying as a harmless person, saying, "Ha ha, your team spirit is really good." Facing him was Sung Ho's scrutinizing gaze. "Have you returned to normal yet?" he asked, and Jyn Sung basically didn't understand what he was saying. Instead, he focused on the girl in a dress, pinning him down. "Hey, it's been 5 minutes already. Can you move to another spot?" The outcome of this battle had already been determined. Sung Ho was convinced, but he said that next time he wanted to have a serious match without any interference. "Next time I can only handle this once." Jyn Sung waved his hand, but Sung Ho didn't even bother to listen to him. "You should do a few things first, that's a piece of advice." After saying this, Sung Ho left. Sung Ho then left. The members of the third-year squad had no reason to stay until now. Jyn Sung could finally lie flat on the ground and let out a sigh of relief that it was over. Their homeroom teacher displayed an unbelievable expression upon seeing Baeon Ji-sun's team manage to defeat the monster Sung Ho's team. Not long after that, a special guest appeared in the principal's office, a man whom the principal referred to as the advisor, judging by his humble demeanor, this seemingly young man. He must be a high-ranking official or possess incredible abilities. "Has the file I requested been prepared?" After settling into the advisor's chair, he asked, "Are we all here?" The principal handed him a file, and the advisor flipped through a few pages before stopping at Sung Ho's profile. The principal immediately introduced that Sung Ho is an outstanding student known not only in Korea but also worldwide, and he is also the pride of Hyundai School. The advisor flipped to the back to check the information and discovered that Sung Ho had no award history in middle school, but had won every match in high school. This is indeed quite strange. If the boy's EDA level were just a bit better, it would be unfortunate, the principal lamented, because with a rank B, he shouldn't have come this far. The advisor mumbled to himself and then noticed at the bottom of the file was Park Ji-sung's information, and what caught his attention was that he was the only student without a military rank, merely a trainee. The advisor then asked the principal about this, and received an explanation that he was just a second-year student but had a rank lower than even first-year students. Contrary to others, he still found Jyn Sung quite interesting, so he requested the principal to show him the boy's past resume. Jyn Sung was labeled a special case by the school because he lost his parents at the age of 8. Perhaps this shock is why Jyn Sung's EDA was not awakened. After that, he was exploited by his aunt and uncle for a long time. At the age of 50, a group of robbers broke into his uncle's house, and the two of them suffered a significant amount of damage. They sustained severe injuries to both body and mind, leading to a stay in a mental hospital, resulting in Jyn Sung's EDA awakened on that very day. The more he read, the more the advisor's brow furrowed. Jyn Sung truly is a special case because normally people's EDA would appear. Jyn Sung's EDA was awakened late at the age of 8 in a special circumstance, yet he only achieved a rank of F, and moreover his combat ability remained stagnant at rank F. For the past 50 years, the advisor felt something was off here. It is unreasonable for his combat ability not to have increased even a little over 7 years. He immediately speculated that Jyn Sung was hiding his true abilities. He just didn't know what the boy's intentions were. The advisor requested to meet Jyn Sung privately, but before that, the principal had a question he wanted to ask him, but the advisor asked why he allowed their school to become a military academy after this question. The advisor's hand flipping through the file suddenly stopped and his expression darkened, causing the principal to panic. "I'm sorry, sir, I shouldn't have asked." He hurriedly waved his hand, but then suddenly received a response. "We have prepared to face ridicule from the North, but with this system, we hope that the students can help us change the past." Jyn Sung's morning routine goes like this. He wakes up at 6 in the morning, gets his clothes ready, dreamily looks at himself in the mirror and smiles confidently, telling himself to give his best today, and leave the house at 6:30. Jyn Sung arrived at school early like this. It's because recently, you have to take on all sorts of cleaning tasks and other chores, and just as you arrived at school, you ran into the upperclassman, the girl at the head of that group squinting at Jyn Sung. Han lightly spoke up. "You're a second-year student. I think we don't need to dress as nicely as you." Jyn Sung heard that comment and laughed, responding, "That's right. That's fine then." The boy next to her immediately spoke up. "Wait, isn't he the only intern at our school?" He smiled, modestly, gently replying, "Have I become that famous? You guys are exaggerating a bit." The senior raised an eyebrow at him. "He looks dumber than I thought." The girl laughed contemptuously at this. "I think the people from the first squad are getting a bit too complacent." Jyn Sung laughed, ignoring the crowd that was busy gossiping and judging him. They didn't even bother to show him any respect, throwing insults right in front of him. "Isn't your EDA just a sword? That thing is useless. How can you possibly stand up to An Sung-ho with that?" Even he makes mistakes. Struggling to enter the school gate as soon as he got to class, he quickly cleaned the board chalk dust flying into his eyes, making him uncomfortable. It just wouldn't clear out. They even had the support of the government. So why don't they use whiteboards instead of this thing? After that, he eagerly cleaned the classroom, so that's how things ended up like this. Looking at him so enthusiastic. Han raised an eyebrow, saying, "I think you really completed your part of the work by running away." Jong-hun beside him propped his chin up, bored, asking why he didn't do that with them. From the very beginning, Han-soo took the opportunity to grip his shoulder tightly. "I'm quite impressed. It would be surprising if you got ranked, even though everything will definitely be unlucky." After saying those mocking words, he left, while Jyn Sung remained very calm, thinking about those words. After the battle with the third-year seniors, my image in everyone's eyes has improved. In a daze, he was awakened by Ji Sung's shout, "I told you to wake up, you piece of trash!" Jyn Sung sat up groggily. "Huh, did you call me?" He thought he was going to get hit again. Jin Jong crossed his arms, looking at him disdainfully. "Last time I couldn't get that pile of math documents, so now you go get it for me." He didn't think much and agreed, "Okay." Seeing Jyn Sung agree, he hurriedly ordered, "Go right now. I need to copy the answers." Jyn Sung was confused, thinking, he's not going to hit me. Well, he thought it was because of that, and they had gradually stopped hitting him. Jyn Sung once again cleaned the hallway outside, and a few people passing by saw him and spoke up asking for help since he hadn't submitted his homework yet. "It's for social studies, so remember to submit it to me, okay?" "Hey, me too." "Park Jyn Sung, please return the textbook to the office later." The increasing requests were exhausting for Jyn Sung, but instead, they started assigning him all sorts of odd jobs as the last class finally ended. Nam Kang tired, stretched with excitement. Class was over. Seeing his exaggerated actions, the homeroom teacher, Mr. Shin, immediately reminded everyone to settle down, saying, "You all know today is the last day for you to join the club, right?" He calmly replied. Mr. Shin looked at Nam Kang's calm demeanor and said this was a mandatory activity for second-year students, so if you haven't joined yet, hurry up and participate. Ji Sung, sitting below, stared intently at the paper in front of him, pondering which club he should join. "Will anyone let me in?" Mr. Shin at the podium kept reminding them that if they didn't join any club, they would have a private meeting with him. "Do you understand?" Intern Park Ji Sung listened to the teacher's words, and the students below couldn't help but laugh mockingly. Surely no club would accept a guy with an F grade. They might even make him take an entrance test to see how weak he really was. Those heavy words echoed in his ears, darkening his mood. All they wanted to do was make fun of him. Suddenly, a series of data on the page caught Jyn Sung's attention. Emergency Rescue Statistics EDA Combat Team Battle. Separate battles, weapon practice, EDA combat skills, ideological struggle, training, emergency handling, high-level weapons, high-level martial arts, high-level attack skills. Enhanced combat learning about the art of war. Learning about the 36 strategies. What are these? All the clubs were related to the military or the use of EDA. While he was still in shock, the group behind him began discussing which club he would join. I think I will join the combat team club. How is it rated? Wait, let's go to that club together. The students in the class gathered in lively groups, chatting excitedly as they left the classroom. They were rated quite highly. So looking forward to it. Wait for me, I'm coming. In an instant, only Jyn Sung remained in the room. He held his head, furrowing his brows, mumbling to himself about what he should do. I really hope they will avoid the EDA level restrictions. This isn't just a club, but groups of people connected to each other. He quickly grabbed a pen and filled in the blanks: ideological struggle, training, ultimate skills, four-direction handling, armored attack skills, learning about the art of war, HT. Not related to the use of EDA, distinct for the purpose of enhancing physical combat. Looking back at the paper once more to confirm, Jyn Sung finally felt satisfied and left the classroom. I don't think many people will join, even though it's a bit strange that there's only one club using their famous gym. The scene of heated arguments among the people in the class suddenly flashed before his eyes. It's mine, not theirs, get lost. That image made him feel exhausted. There won't be any problem, right? It listed that it wouldn't be related to the use of EDA, so upon arriving, I saw a crowd gathered in front of Jyn Sung, surprised and approaching. Why are there so many people? Have I come to the wrong place? You looked at the paper in your hand again, muttering, but I'm sure this is the right place. Suddenly, someone in the crowd pointed at Jyn Sung and shouted, "Hey, the F-level student from the upper class is here too." The people around immediately turned to look at him, and they indeed glanced at Jyn Sung with disdain, discussing how he was from the upper class but was actually just an intern. Should I approach him to ask something rudely? Seeing their attitude, Jyn Sung felt confused, thinking that most of them were first-year students. They aren't required to join the club, so why are they all gathered here? Suddenly, that group of students started whispering over there, "The club president is coming out." Where that's so cool. Jyn Sung tried to weave through the enthusiastic crowd, wondering who the club president was. Upon seeing that person, he was surprised and dropped the paper in his hand, thinking, "I have to run." The crowd around him became even more excited. The rumor was indeed true. Suddenly, that person turned towards the door and called out loudly, "Park Jyn Sung!" Watching him approach, the crowd became increasingly agitated. It was An Sung-ho. Wow, he looked so handsome from the outside. "Senior, I'm your fan." Jyn Sung was pushed to the front, raising an eyebrow at Sung-ho, asking, Are you the president of the HT club?" He smiled lightly and replied, "I didn't expect you to come here." "I'm very impressed, Park Jyn Sung." Sung-ho looked at the crowd and said, "All candidates, you can come in and get ready." Upon hearing this, Jyn Sung's face darkened, thinking he had to run away now. It would definitely be troublesome if I got involved with that senior. Seeing him turn to leave, Sung-ho asked, "Where are you going, Park Ji-sung?" He forced a smile and said, "I think I went to the wrong club location. I'll go look for it and come back, okay?" He remained calm, saying, "In this club there are no other members. Aren't you still unwilling to join? Didn't you come here because you thought there would be fewer people, right?" Being hit with the truth. Jyn Sung's face paled as he bowed his head, saying, "That's true, but there are too many candidates already." Sung-ho patiently said, "Just go in. This isn't a club that anyone can just join." Jyn Sung awkwardly bent down, still determined to leave. "You must know that I'm a low-level student, so I probably can't get in. You must know that I'm quite low-ranked, so I probably won't be able to get in. It should be." Sung-ho, without saying much, grabbed the collar and lifted you up gently, dragging you inside, casually saying, "Now I will give you the entrance test. Do the test with the other candidates." You helplessly shouted, "No, I said I'm fine." The door closed and Sung-ho glanced at the group of candidates, casually stating, "All candidates are here, right? It's quite crowded today, so let's start the entrance test. It's very simple. You just need to follow the exercises I will do until the end of the hour. If you can do it, you pass. It will include 30 burpees, 30 push-ups, then 30 burpees again, and finally 30 squats." The group of candidates listened to this with excitement, admiring him. He is doing the test too. He is really strong. His voice is so charming. Some people pondered, muttering, "Wait, that's one round." Meanwhile, others were determined, "We can do it." Sung-ho's voice echoed in the room. If you can do 10 rounds continuously without stopping, then you pass. Jyn Sung, over here holding his head in despair, shouted, "Just pretend I'm not here!" The group started the test. In the first round, everyone turned pale and trembled, but Sung Ho, with strictness, spoke. "Number 2, you're too slow, eliminated. Numbers 5 and 6, your postures are terrible, eliminated." Watching each candidate collapse, he remained calm, demonstrating while saying, "You need to move as fast as I do." The physical torment dragged on, causing the group to gradually collapse. "I can't do any more." "Me neither." Jyn Sung looked at that sternness confused, thinking that 30 burpees, 30 push-ups, 30 burpees again, and 30 squats is one round, and he makes it look so easy. And there was no change in his expression at all. How strong is that monster? In a flash, that group couldn't hold on much longer and finally collapsed completely. "I give up." Sung Ho looked at them with no sympathy, coldly stating, "The first group is completely eliminated, as I said." He coldly glanced at Jyn Sung's group. "We will start with Group 2 right away." A chill ran down their spines, making the group tremble immediately. "What should I do?" "I don't think I can do it. It's scary, but cool." They were scared and pushed Jyn Sung forward. "You go first." "The senior forced me to stand in front, which is too much." "You were unexpectedly pushed to the front, saying, 'I didn't want to either.' The girl who just pushed you turned and ran away while the person next to her kicked you again, causing you to cry out in pain, 'Don't push me.'" She smugly covered her mouth and laughed lightly. The senior was pushed to Sung Ho's face. Looking at his stern face, you smiled softly. "You don't look tired at all." "Are you sure you're human?" The senior said, "We are only 1 year apart. That must be a lie." He rested his hands, pondering, then casually replied, "You shouldn't say that, Park Jyn Sung." You grimaced at this. "I don't know what you're talking about." He turned his face away calmly, saying, "Group 2, start." You helplessly protested, "I'm not doing it." But in the end, that resistance was futile against Sung Ho. The surrounding space was quiet, only the sound of Jyn Sung's heavy breathing and the group's sweat soaking their foreheads furrowed their brows. Thinking to yourself, "I can't do it." I trained my physical strength by myself to withstand the bullies, so I thought I would be quite good at these kinds of sports. But this is not something that an ordinary person can do. After a while of struggling, all 3 of them were exhausted and collapsed. Sung Ho looked at them and said that Group 2 was quite good. "Should I speed up?" His words made all 3 roll their eyes. Jyn Sung immediately shouted loudly in refusal, "You can't do that." In the end, the other 2 dropped out, so they got to sit and rest while eating cake comfortably. "Wow, the senior hasn't dropped out yet. Damn impressive." The people around looked at him and whispered excitedly at this moment. Isn't his stamina at least among the top? Is it really true that his overall combat ability is at level F? Jyn Sung over here was training while gritting his teeth in anger, muttering, "I already exercised at home." Sung Ho noticed he seemed a bit distracted and reminded him, "Focus, stay in line." Park Jyn Sung, the people behind, looked at each other with admiration. This is the 7th round already. The girls over here had bright eyes. Indeed, Senior and Sung Ho is amazing. The senior at level F is not inferior at all. Sung Ho looked at him with delight. "Not bad, Park Jyn Sung," he thought. "You're overthinking it." He looked at your expression, smiled softly, and said, "I already knew that. The reaction speed I saw last time was not just a coincidence. You will be able to catch up." As soon as he finished this sentence, Sung Ho trained even more frantically, leaving the group in shock. "The senior is even faster now. What a terrifying speed. Can the senior at level F catch up?" Jyn Sung looked at Sung Ho's provocative attitude, unable to contain his anger. "Are you serious?" He immediately sped up, causing the group to gasp. "That's too fast. Is he really doing it?" "Level F is catching up to the national level. He can do it. Senior at level F, you can do it. Just a little bit more." 27 senior at level F, you can do it. 28-29, seeing him still keep up with his speed, Sung Ho smiled with satisfaction. "Good job, Park Jyn Sung," the voices of the excited group rang out. 30, you finally got tired and collapsed to the ground. The people around cheered in joy. "The senior at level F did it. Wow, is he the only one who surpassed everyone?" Jyn Sung gasped for breath, muttering, "I'm about to die." They looked at him, clapping excitedly. "I'm impressed by you. Congratulations on surpassing." Hearing the praise from everyone, Jyn Sung tiredly lay down on the ground. "Well, it's not too bad, right? I got this praise." Sung Ho suddenly approached Jyn Sung, extending his hand towards him. "Welcome to the HT Club." Park Jyn Sung smiled and took his hand. "Thank you. I think I will go rest now." Sung-ho pulled him up, chuckling. There's no rush, you can start tomorrow morning. Jyn Sung, feeling confused, asked, Excuse me, senior, didn't you hear what I just said? He tightened his grip on Jyn Sung's hand, smiling coldly. The effectiveness of exercise will double when someone trains with you. I've been waiting for someone who can match my level for a long time. He then withdrew his hand darkly, stating, Match your level with mine. If we play one more round, I'm gonna die right here. I thought you hated it when everyone liked me. Sung-ho, hearing this, coldly replied, It took a whole year just to add one member, looking at Jyn Sung's face, which looked like he had eaten something sour, making him pale and confused. Damn it, he won't listen to me at all. I just want to join some quiet club. But this club is really terrible. By the end of the day, Jyn Sung sighed tiredly, not wanting to go to the club at all. I just need to be there. All the attention will be on me just to get into the club with An Sung-ho. I keep thinking that this damn club is just with An Sung-ho, so I'm always bullied. How did you get into the HT club? Those jealous questions every day. Hey, say something. Thinking back on those words made Jyn Sung feel quite depressed, but thinking of Sung-ho sent chills down his spine. If he didn't go, he would keep following him, making Jyn Sung, Jyn Sung, Jyn Sung. Should I break my own arm? He stared at his hand in thought when suddenly a voice called from behind, Hey, Jyn Sung! He jumped immediately, slinging his backpack over his shoulder, shaking his head repeatedly, mumbling, No, no. He would take me to the infirmary and take care of me, and as long as I got better, he would pull me along again. He seemed to not care about the call from earlier. But that person's voice rang out, Ah, there you are. He didn't pay attention and stood up. It would be better than being isolated like this. Immediately, Jyn Sung was called out loudly by Seol. Hey! He turned around, startled. Damn it, you scared me. He looked blankly at Seun, who looked at him with a serious expression, asking, Are you a student in this class? Jyn Sung still stared at her in a daze, thinking, Wow, I have such a beautiful person here. But he quickly regained his composure and stammered, What's up? Seun took out a card and held it in front of him casually, saying, I think they said you use this to introduce yourself. Jyn Sung was surprised, bowing his head to look at the card in her hand. The sergeant raised an eyebrow at him, asking, Why don't you have a rank? He scratched his head, a bit hard to explain, replying, Well, the thing is, he was still confused, not knowing how to explain. Suddenly, Seol asked in a serious tone, According to military standards, rank and name. Jyn Sung reflexively stood at attention and said, Squadron 2, Platoon 10, Team 3, Trainee Soldier. Park Jyn Sung, he said in one breath without stumbling over any words. By the time he calmed down, it was already too late. Seol looked at him in surprise. The trainee's confused expression made Jyn Sung a bit embarrassed, grinding his teeth, thinking, Damn it, they forced me to practice this so much that it became a habit. Seol looked at him. Although a bit surprised, she still calmly raised her hand, saying, It's okay, no problem. Nice to meet you. I'm Sergeant Kim Seol. Jyn Sung forced a smile, shaking her hand, asking, Yes, but why did you call me that? Seol replied, You said you were in Platoon 10, right? I will join Squadron 2, Platoon 10 tomorrow morning. Seol then told him, You're in the 10th Squad, right? I'll be joining the 2nd Division of the 10th Squad early tomorrow morning. You then realized the issue and awkwardly asked if she was transferred here. So please take care of me a little better from now on. I have a few things to do. As soon as you stepped out the door, Seol grabbed your collar and pulled you back. Wait a minute. She roughly pushed you against the wall, her hands placed on the wall, pressing you closely against Jyn Sung. This left you bewildered, asking, Sergeant, do I need to be there right now? She coldly glanced at you and replied, No, we need guidance. This left Jyn Sung surprised, asking, What are you doing? She remained silent, making you even more confused. The current situation made you want to cry silently. Sergeant An Sung-ho might come looking for you at any moment. You, filled with panic, stammered, Wait, I have something urgent. Can you ask someone else? She coldly rejected your suggestion. No. I find it quite comfortable with him, you know. Her words made you feel awkward, asking, Haven't you just met me? Her face darkened as she coldly looked at you, and right now that expression made your insides scream, What is this? Oh my, this is so scary! But then you helplessly accepted Sehun's request. All right, I'll just go, but where do you want to go? Her tone became gentler. Take me to Sergeant An Sung-ho. As soon as you heard this, your eyes lit up. You should have said that from the beginning. Actually, I was planning to go there. Just as you finished speaking, a deep, angry voice came from behind Sung-ho. Park Ji-sung had been standing behind you, his face cold as ice but filled with killing intent. Just looking at him made you want to faint. Sergeant An Sung-ho? He turned to you and said, "Park Jyn Sung, I hope you don't plan to skip practice, right?" Jyn Sung's face paled, cold sweat breaking out as he hurriedly explained, "I was planning to go there." Sehun, standing beside you, saw Sung Ho and spoke up, "You are Sergeant On Sung Ho." He squinted at her and said, "You're in Block 2, right? You should respect your superior a little." Hearing this, she casually replied, "I heard there are rankings here. Are you strong enough to be my superior? It seems like you and I will have a hard time determining a winner." Sehun's provocative smile immediately darkened Sung Ho's expression. "Are you asking me to confirm that for you?" Jyn Sung stood between the two, confused, and interjected, "Stop fighting, it's pointless." Seol raised an eyebrow and asked, "Sergeant On Sung Ho, are you dating anyone?" Her question made you freeze. Naturally, Sung Ho narrowed his eyes and calmly replied, "No." His answer left you suspicious. He doesn't have a girlfriend. But Seol, listening to Sung Ho's concise response, smirked. "It seems so." "Of course I absolutely hate people like you." He coldly replied, "It's fine. I don't like you either." The situation had escalated to this point, leaving Jyn Sung standing there bewildered. "What is this situation?" Seol put on a calm demeanor and said, "Whatever. I don't care if she's your girlfriend or your crush anymore. If you don't want to be bothered, then come up with something." Sung Ho was surprised and looked at her. She smiled faintly and replied, "My family is quite noisy and conservative. I'm saying this for your own good. So don't ignore it." Jyn Sung listened to her and turned pale, wondering what was happening here. "Who am I? Where am I?" Suddenly, she walked quickly towards Jyn Sung. "Luckily, he doesn't like me. Hey, rookie, do you want to go out with me?" Her straightforward proposal surprised and embarrassed Jyn Sung. He stammered, suddenly, and Seol smiled lightly and said, "We have a lot in common. I really like someone who shares my perspective." He panicked and covered his flushed face, stammering, "I don't know." She looked at his boss-like demeanor with surprise, but then the corners of her mouth curled up in interest. "How cute." She smiled with excitement, getting closer to him. "Rookie, huh?" "Ida and your jawline, what's that?" He turned his face away. "It's all just pressure." Hearing this, she frowned. He forced a smile and insisted, "It's true." Seol still didn't believe him and moved closer. "No way. How could anyone have both?" He remained adamant, insisting, "It's you." She still didn't believe him, her face beginning to show annoyance. "Don't joke around." Sung Ho, seeing the situation getting worse, calmly interjected, "We were about to go for training. So you should go now." In the training room, you and Sung Ho struggled to hold on. He looked at you and smiled faintly. Just as these words ended, you shouted loudly and fell at Seol's feet. She said flatly, "At first I thought this was an excuse to avoid me. Turns out you really went to train. I have a different view of you now." You knelt on the ground, gasping, wondering why she was following us. She worriedly asked, "Are you okay?" Jyn Sung looked up, forcing a smile. "Please, if you're here, then save me." She coldly replied, "Since when did you remember me saving you?" Hearing this broke his heart, and he cried silently, thinking, "What about the time you told me to show you the way?" Jyn Sung, heartbroken, bowed his head and cried, "So unfair." Sehun pointed at you and then looked at Sung Ho, but Sergeant On Sung Ho. "Why train him to this extent?" He coldly replied, "He's just a rookie." Although that's different. But if he has teammates to train with, that's already enough. Sehun heard this, smiled thoughtfully, then approached Sung Ho, saying, "I don't know why you're trying so hard to help him. Could it be that you see something in him?" Sung Ho squinted suspiciously, resting her chin on her hand and chuckling, "Tell me what secret he possesses." Sehun confidently looked at Sung Ho, realizing he could see the talent in him, right? "Now hurry up and answer me." Sung Ho casually replied, "I don't know what you're talking about. Aren't you the one who has certain expectations for Park Jyn Sung?" She chuckled softly, leaning closer to Sung Ho. "You won't tell me, then I'll just go ask him myself." She turned to look at Jyn Sung. "If that's the case." "Intern, you heard us talking, right? Answer me." You lay back on the ground, propping yourself up with your hands and smiling. "Oh, I think you're misunderstanding something. I'm just an F-level student, so no matter how charming you are, it's useless." Sehun and Sung Ho heard this and looked at you. Sung Ho frowned in dissatisfaction and stepped forward, grabbing Jyn Sung's collar, surprising him. "It seems like we've pretended to be ignorant long enough. Let's start practicing the next thing." "Wait, why are you so angry?" "Sehun, help me." In the classroom, the voice of the homeroom teacher echoed, "All right, pay attention. Today, a new student is transferring in." A figure stepped in from the door, cold and confident, looking at the class. The male students in the class looked at her with cold, mocking smiles. Is there really a new student transferring in at this hour? She looks so beautiful. Shul turned to the homeroom teacher. Sir, where should I sit? He replied nonchalantly, There's a spot at the back of Team 1, but introduce yourself first. Jyn Sung sat below, staring at her. She smiled lightly and approached Jyn Sung, saying, I'd like to be in Team 3. Her words surprised the homeroom teacher. He hurriedly spoke up. Wait a minute. She disregarded the homeroom teacher's objections. Please let me sit with Team 3. The homeroom teacher firmly said, Team 3 doesn't have any empty seats left. Nam Kang, sitting next to Jyn Sung, looked at her with a confused expression. Seun still confidently looked at Nam Kang and suggested, I'd like to sit there. Can you sit somewhere else? Nam Kang pouted defiantly. Hello, second-year student of Class 1, even if you suddenly say that. This is still my seat. Sewell coldly slammed her hand on the desk, looking at Nam Kang with a slight smile. So aren't you planning to sit somewhere else? Her expression immediately made him pale with fear, and he quickly stood up from his seat. I'll sit somewhere else then. Seeing his attitude, she smiled in satisfaction. Thank you. She sat down just as Ji-zon's lazy voice rang out. This new student, who do you think you are to act like this? I'm in charge of Team 3. Let's start by telling us your name and rank. Sewell crossed her arms, looking coldly at him. Is your rank higher than mine? I heard the highest rank for second-year students is corporal, and I'm a corporal. Saying that, she immediately sat down on the teacher's chair. I will sit here, sir. Her actions and words were so quick that Ji-zon couldn't refute her, I am the captain of Team 3, sir. The teacher sighed, seeing yet another quirky child added to the class. All right, then, just sit there. Ji-sung listened to his words, feeling hopeless, covering his face. Oh, you turned to look at me. He saw her expression and frowned. Sol, are you poking the intern? Don't you dislike me? Why are you so indifferent about this? I'm sitting here because I thought we were on the same wavelength. Do I need to do anything more about this? Oh, we don't need to get along. Her icy tone made him pale, forcing a smile. I will overlook the fact that we don't get along. She tilted her head in surprise, causing Jyn Sung to feel even more anxious, sweat beading on his forehead. It's not that I dislike you. Just then the homeroom teacher called out, Kim Sun. She smiled and immediately replied, Yes, sir. He then said, Shouldn't you introduce yourself to the class? Hearing this, she felt a bit disheartened. But I'm already sitting. However, Sehun still stood up. All right, then, I will sit here and say it. Her attitude made Ji-won uncomfortable. Isn't it basic courtesy for a new student to stand in front of the class to introduce themselves? She coldly replied, I don't want everyone to hear me clearly just because I'm standing here. Ji-won was so angry she couldn't say a word. Really? Sehun smiled confidently at the class. Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you all. I am the new student Kim Sol, and I will be part of Class 10 starting today. The students in the class looked at each other, whispering, What's wrong with her? She's acting so rude. She must have behaved well at her old school. Sol didn't care about the gossip around her. Continuing her introduction, I am Ida. My lineage is the White Jade Elf. From the male students to the female students, everyone showed their dislike for Sol. I don't like her because she looks so hot-tempered. Amidst the gossip and slander, a few people suddenly realized something in her introduction. Sol confidently said, Although my family urged me to transfer to this school, I still hope we can all improve together from now on. I hope for your support. As her words ended, the class immediately buzzed, What, the White Jade Elf of the Kim clan? Is that true? Did she really say that? The cold indifference of the class changed, causing the homeroom teacher to struggle to restore order. Settle down, everyone. Quiet down the White Jade Elf. Ida is the only one that can be passed down from generation to generation. Ida usually cannot be inherited since the beginning. There are no two Ada that are alike because of what is engraved in the soul. They cannot be the same, but some people still hope that they can pass down their Ada so that it can become stronger, more refined, sharper, and more dangerous, and there is a clan that has successfully experimented. That is the Kim clan of Jing-yi, the guardians of King Sulo. Those from the Kim lineage have been forgotten by their own clan and focused on education. Endless thoughts and battles through generations to protect their bloodline. They only have the way to befriend those within their clan. All their children have white skin. The Kim clan of White Jade has successfully obtained an unusual Ida, a White Jade Elf of the spirit level. The body of the player can reveal the White Jade Elf. However, the White Jade Elf can only be revealed to the descendants in each generation. The clan's digital business has significantly decreased and is almost non-existent, and the child born in the last generation is a child with a sword appearing. That child possesses physical abilities and potential capabilities far beyond the last female elf. However, the Bakanok fairy was only revealed to the descendants in each generation, and the digital enterprise of their clan had significantly diminished and was nearly non-existent with the child born in the final generation. Then a fairy wielding a sword appeared. That child possessed physical abilities and latent powers far exceeding those of the last female fairy. The highest-ranking Kim Se-hoon, a person born with a silver spoon recognized by both his family and God as a prodigy, coldly spoke as he looked at the entire class with his hands on the desk. "Teacher, can I sit down now?" The homeroom teacher was a bit taken aback but quickly replied, "Of course. You can sit down starting today. Corporal Kim Se-hoon will become the vice captain of the 3rd squad, so please maintain order." The homeroom teacher's words made Ji-won very dissatisfied, but how could a new student become the vice captain? He immediately shouted, "Shut up, Ji-won!" Even though he was unwilling, he had to remain silent. Jyn Sung looked at her in surprise and asked, "Wow, I guess you're quite famous." Sol rested his chin on his hand and frowned, replying, "That's because I'm this perfect." "You're a bit arrogant saying that I understand." Sol confidently looked back at him and said, "You yourself are quite one of a kind, too. Because the title of an F-level intern soldier isn't that ordinary either." Hearing this, he turned pale and immediately buried his head on the desk. "Don't say any more, I'm an ally." She chuckled softly. "I don't want to stop," he said, feeling embarrassed and unable to speak to her. On the other side, Jyn Sung was still gritting his teeth, looking at Se-hoon, wondering how a new girl could be in the cafeteria. Hansu pushed the door open and said to Hyagi, "I think we should change the squad leader of the 3rd squad. Kim Sung-hyun is better than Bi-hun Ji-zon at everything. That bastard Bi-hun Ji-zon, Kim Sung-hyun, has a higher EDA ranking and overall combat ability is better than him. He keeps giving out weird commands in the combat team." Hansu's words made Hyeji completely agree, saying that he wanted to look capable himself. "At first I thought she was too arrogant, but she is really smart and better at giving commands. Moreover, her charm in battle is impressive. So cool, I'm totally smitten. If Kim Se-hoon were the squad leader, that would be great." Hansu heard this and laughed sarcastically. "Wow. Anyway, she will surely become the captain soon." Ji-sun, listening to those mocking words, became furious. His face darkened as he tightened the paper cup in his hand. Kim Se-hoon's excited voice rang out, "It's lunchtime now!" "Let's have lunch together, partners." Jyn Sung forced a smile and immediately refused. "No, I have to clean up." Seeing him deliberately avoid her, she became annoyed and approached to grab his collar. "But I have no one to eat with." He immediately countered her words. "You're lying! You're the most popular person in school right now!" Seul heard this, crossed her arms, and frowned in annoyance. "I hate those kids approaching me for things like that. They keep sneaking glances and never really come to talk to me." Jyn Sung forced a smile and still refused. "No, I'm very busy. I have to clean the board and dust it." Cleaning the board, sweeping and mopping the classroom, and getting supplies for the next lesson, too. Hearing the list of tasks he had to do, she frowned, realizing that one person doing all that work seemed too much. "I bet even the squad leader can't do all those things by themselves." "Right." Jyn Sung forced a smile, avoiding her gaze, and replied, "That's right." She leaned on the desk, her face cold as she looked at him. "No way. You're not doing the tasks that are usually assigned to the other squad leaders, are you? Not only that, but you're doing it for the whole class as well." You laughed it off and cheerfully said you were only doing it because you had completed other tasks already. Isn't it more troublesome if many people do it? Don't misunderstand, your explanation only fuels the anger inside her. She gritted her teeth and said, "Misunderstand, follow me." She grabbed your collar and pulled you along, surprising you as you asked where to. "I told you I was busy," Se-hoon said with a frown. "What do you think? We're going to visit those jerks who keep assigning you tasks that they should be doing themselves." You looked confused. "Wait a minute, I said it's fine." In the dining room, Se-hoon leaned down to look at Jong-hoon. "I have something to ask you." The girl beside him looked surprised and said, "Kim Se-hoon, what is it?" Jong-hoon calmly asked, "What do you want from me?" She frowned and questioned. "That's right, you're the one who regularly takes responsibility for cleaning the classroom of Squad 4, aren't you? Why are you making the new recruits in our squad do that?" Hearing her question, Dong-hoon raised an eyebrow and coldly laughed. "Oh, because he's a loser." Before he could finish, she immediately raised her hand to cover his mouth and interrupted, I don't want to hear your excuses from now on. Let's all do what we're assigned to do, okay? It's really shameful for you to bully someone weaker than you, and I really don't want to be in that situation. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Dong-hun turned pale looking at her, and Se-hun let go, saying, "If I catch you doing this one more time, understand." He turned pale with fear and immediately said, "Yes, I understand." "Apologize," she coldly pointed at Jyn Sung. "You should apologize to him." You looked at everyone, forcing a smile, unable to say a word. Jong-hun, though reluctant, gritted his teeth and said, "I'm sorry, loser." After finishing his task, Se-hun led you away. "Sorry for bothering you while you were eating," she said, tilting her chin. "Now, new recruit, go to the next person." Upon hearing this, you said, "Where are we going now?" "Didn't we resolve everything already?" She replied, "What do you think we are going?" "We're going to meet the homeroom teacher." You heard this and exclaimed in surprise, "Wait a minute." In the teacher's room, the homeroom teacher smiled happily at Se-hun. "Oh, so this happened to Jyn Sung. From now on, I'll let you be in charge of dividing the cleaning tasks," Se-hun said, contrasting with Jyn Sung's desperate face. Se-hun excitedly replied, "Yes, sir." She quickly turned to the group of students. "So now I'll assign the tasks for our squad from today onwards. You will take care of the board and you will handle the floor cleaning, got it?" The two boys listened to her in surprise and said in unison, "What?" One boy, puzzled, asked, "Why do we have to clean?" The boy next to him also chimed in. "That's right. That jerk hasn't finished his words yet." Before they could say anything else, both were hit on the neck by Se-hun's broom. They didn't dare to protest and could only respond, "Not right now." Jinsun, from afar, was annoyed approaching the vice team leader. She coldly looked at him and said, "Byun Jinsun, do you want to clean up too?" He immediately replied, "At least you should call me vice team leader." She raised an eyebrow and responded, "So what do you want?" Dido frowned, feeling frustrated by her attitude. "Do I have to want something to come talk to you? I'm just talking to my subordinate." She looked a bit dazed, but then shrugged and gave a faint smile. "That's right, but since you annoy me, I'll just need to become the team leader." "Really?" Dizon angrily shouted. "What did you say?" Se-hun turned around casually, saying, "If you don't want anything, then I can go in here, right?" Vice team leader Dizon unwillingly shouted, "Wait until class is over. I have something related to the team to discuss with you." Sewell looked at him and said, "If that's the case, then fine." In a corner where no one could see, Jyn Sung was shocked looking at the two. As the bell signaling the end of class rang, Sewell immediately headed to the rooftop. With her front foot moving, Jyn Sung followed closely behind. Just as expected, she was going up to the rooftop. Jyn Sung stood frozen at the stairway for a moment, biting his lip, thinking that today our team leader would be very busy. He moved up to the rooftop, pressing himself against the door to listen to the situation inside. Se-hun coldly spoke. "So what do you want to discuss with me?" Dizon casually approached. "Are you pretending not to know?" "Not really. Even if Cho doesn't want to, you should understand by now." Looking at the group behind Dizon, she smirked coldly. "Our team leader is truly impressive. It seems like you're quite famous, too." The junior members of Dizon stepped closer to her. He stood behind, grinning smugly. "She's still a member of my team." "After this discussion, I have no intention of laying a hand on you," Sewell said nonchalantly. "So you mean you can't discuss these things without many people here to help? Our team leader has always been this embarrassing, huh?" Her words completely angered Jizon. He gritted his teeth. "It seems we'll have to teach the vice team leader a lesson." Sewell was surprised, pointing at herself. "You plan to teach me a lesson?" She looked at Jizon and then pointed at herself with a questioning tone. "You're going to teach me?" Obviously, this action drove Jizon mad. He began cracking his knuckles, gritting his teeth. "You really need a proper lesson." "I will make you regret acting so arrogantly, Kim Sewell." But she didn't care, just coldly crossing her arms. "What's the problem?" Ji-won declared loudly. "You should follow the orders of the sergeant." This made Se-hun laugh, a sarcastic smile on his face. She spread her hands and shrugged, asking, "So are you stronger or smarter than me?" Ji-won glared at her, annoyed. "What?" Ji-young, hiding behind the door on the rooftop, heard Se-hun calmly respond to Ji-zon's group. "Isn't skill here determined by reputation? You either have to be physically stronger than me or make better decisions than I do." Finishing her sentence, she flipped her hair. "To be my superior, shouldn't you be better than me? At least in one of those two aspects, right?" Jason was boiling with anger because obviously he wasn't better than Sewell in any aspect. At least in one of those two aspects, right? Jason was furious because clearly he was no more skilled than Soul in any regard. I can only grit my teeth and curse this trash. Then he waved his hand, ordering everyone to take out their weapons. Immediately, the group obeyed and pulled out their weapons. Soul looked around thoughtfully, noticing some held wooden hammers while others held baseball bats. There were many close combat weapons, none of which had any special skill range. Seeing her silent, Jyn Sung mocked her, saying that with someone as special as her, these things looked pitiful, didn't they? Soul calmly replied, "Not really. Aren't you the one who feels that way?" He didn't want to say much more. He had already talked enough nonsense. The group of students firmly held their makeshift weapons in hand. At this moment, the school was deserted with no one on the basketball court. The security personnel were also quiet. Zion was quite confident in his plan to cause chaos with the weapons on campus, which would get them punished. Seul listened indifferently to his ramblings. Especially with a high-level weapon like hers, just for that reason she would also be punished. She quietly remarked that these weaklings could use their weapons freely without being detected. Jason grinned, signaling his group to advance. He thought victory was within reach because he had gathered 15 kids like this. Kim Seul's weapon needed a blade to unleash its true power, but right now she wasn't carrying one. So when comparing a character who couldn't use their weapon properly with the trash the trash would win. Jyn smugly said that even she wouldn't be able to handle this many people. He pointed at Seul. "I'll make you regret arguing with me, you little goblin." But unlike the fear, Sehun calmly tapped her fingers against her face and suddenly asked a question unrelated to the current situation. And Sung Ho is quite famous in our school, isn't he? Don't you think anything when you see An Sung Ho? Jason was extremely annoyed, snorting, "What nonsense are you spouting?" Seul stepped forward a few steps, continuing to ask, "You know my weapon's name, right? Now the question is this." She paused and asked, "What is my overall combat ability?" Although there was no answer, the group holding wooden weapons began to fearfully step back. Jyn Sung became even more confused and angry seeing them like that. "It's all fake! Why are you faltering in front of a swordsman without a sword? We have 15 people with weapons. Don't be fooled, charge!" Suddenly, Seul sighed. She shrugged. "You should have analyzed it this way in the battle team." Feeling insulted, he clenched his fist this trash. Zul lightly tapped her forehead. "Did you forget what we learned in class?" A horn appeared where she tapped. Statistically, one person with a rank A could take on 100 people with rank B. As she finished speaking, Seul's power suddenly surged. The horn on her head was a white jade goblin. Her weapon's overall combat ability was B+, allowing the user to manipulate the white jade goblin's talent for swordsmanship. An intermediate swordsmanship expert, she smirked disdainfully from rank A onward. "We are considered to possess asymmetrical power. One person must know how to fight one against many to earn rank A." Hearing this, the group began to hesitate and step back. Losing all will to fight, Seul warned, "Just consider my power as only half. Do you think you have any chance of winning?" The hands of some people holding weapons trembled with anger as they stomped their feet on the ground, shouting loudly, "Why are you hesitating? She has no weapons at all." He pointed and ordered to catch her. "All of you catch Min Jun," trying to swallow his anxiety, he timidly replied. His hands shook as he reminded himself Kim Sung has no weapons. Min Jun charged forward, first swinging the baseball bat towards Seul. "We can do this." Seul stood still, not dodging at all. Even as the baseball bat swung down just as it was about to hit her face, she unexpectedly spoke up, "I like your curiosity. But aren't you approaching this a bit too honestly?" The bat stopped just a small distance from her face and couldn't advance any further, feeling the strength holding her weapon. Min Jun turned pale, his hands trembling. Looking at the small, steady hand blocking the attack, it was impossible. Right after that, a dark shadow flashed by. It was Min Jun being thrown backward. He fell onto two other people, and all three were flung away, crashing against the protective railing on the rooftop. Sehun smiled with satisfaction, having hit the mark, not allowing them to intimidate him anymore. She leaped up with lightning speed, throwing punches that knocked several guys away. Seul's body slid forward, sweeping her leg to knock one person down. That guy fell hard onto the floor, unsure if he was still okay. She forcefully stomped on the stomach of the guy who just fell, slamming him down onto the floor. Under the sunset, she proudly enjoyed her victory over a bunch of weaklings who didn't know their own limits. Min Jun groaned as he got up, the pain in his chest still lingering. She has no sword, yet she is still so strong he felt disheartened. "We are nothing when facing an Ada Sehun squatted down in front of him. You gave up too soon." That's why you can't be a champion. Minjun shouted miserably. What does she know? She was chosen since birth. Do you think I don't try to train? A chosen one like you can understand. Seul listened in silence to what he had to say. Minjun poured out all his pent-up frustration. Can a genius born with abundant Ida understand the sorrow of someone without talent? She felt sorry for him. Yeah, he had no other choice but to think that way. But the problem is, when my overall fighting ability started, it was D. Minjun was bewildered for a few seconds. Why hasn't the champion D. Jyn spoken up until now? Now she starts to chatter. Don't lie. No one in this country doesn't know about your family. He didn't believe her. If she wanted to play psychological tricks, she should say something credible. Something trustworthy, right? Who would believe someone like you has no talent at all? Seul shrugged. I agree an Ada rank A, but the overall fighting ability is only rank D. Truly useless, she chuckled. I don't want to pick up a sword, but my Ida does. What can I do? I have to accept it. Minjun and his gang had now managed to get up. He didn't believe it. It couldn't be Seul. Didn't care what they thought. You won't accept the efforts I put in? She looked at her hands and indifferently said, but that doesn't affect anything on her hands. Were calluses from overtraining. The efforts I put in are still being proven at this moment. Jyn didn't want to listen anymore. He led the group to charge at Seul. Shut up, but just a moment later the whole bunch collapsed at her feet. Even without a sword, you guys still aren't a match for me. The sunlight shining on the rooftop's protective railing, the others have been knocked down, leaving only Jyn. He was on guard when he heard Seul say, it's just you left. Sergeant, she looked at the defeated foes sprawled on the floor. Did you see me intentionally leave you behind in the end? Jyn gritted his teeth, cursing. I guess even if it's a trash can, it's still just trash. Seul rubbed her neck and said something incomprehensible. Sergeant, I can't use it to take care of you again. But it seemed Ji-won understood what she meant. He scoffed. It won't help you come on and eat me, you goblin. Seul felt something was off. She narrowed her eyes, assessing what kind of confidence this was. Was he still hiding a trump card? But she didn't think too much if that was the case. Seul charged in, throwing a punch with a warning, you better tuck your belly in. She thought she just needed to destroy it. Her fist aimed at Jyson's stomach. He watched the scene with delight and chuckled. You've fallen into my trap, Kim Soon. I knew you'd avoid a punch to the face. You know you'll be punished if you do that. But surprisingly, Jyson's plan was to take the hit. He stepped back and bent down to absorb the punch. I'll use my face! His actions made Seon sweat because she couldn't retract her hand in time. Her punch was very close to Jyson's face. He was still secretly pleased. Imagine your surprised expression if you tried to let Kim Soon punch you in the face. At least she would be suspended or even expelled. A price too cheap to play with you to the point of destruction, but suddenly a punch hit a hand blocking right in front of Jason, leaving him stunned. Jyn Sung abruptly appeared and blocked between the two. Whoa, that's dangerous! Jyn Sung saw his plan fail and angrily cursed trash, but Jyn Sung still smiled. Your cute little nose shouldn't be broken, Sergeant. Jyn Sung opened his hand. The hand that just blocked Seul's punch had fragments of something. He stood up, dusted his hands, and dropped that thing on the ground. Jyn Sung angrily pushed his hands down to stand up. How did you get here, you trash? However, before he could stand up, the hand on the ground was stepped on by Jyn Sung. He hurriedly apologized when he heard the scream, Oops, I slipped. He scratched his head, feeling guilty. Are you okay, Sergeant? Jyn Sung seemed to have a grudge against the whole world. He frowned at Seul. Did you bring this trash here? She blandly pointed at Jyn Sung. Why should I? He followed me. Hearing that, he felt a bit heartbroken. What a pity, Jyn Sung cried. It's so sad that I can't be welcomed anywhere. The fight temporarily paused here. Se-hoon didn't strike anymore. She thought she had somewhat resolved the situation to change the impression with Byun Jison, but she turned to look back at the position she was standing in with the rooftop door. Recalling what had happened and placing a few question marks from behind the rooftop door to this spot. He rushed here in a heartbeat. Jyn Sung opened the door and rushed here, standing between Seul and Beyonce, even stopping her punch completely. How can someone with F-class combat ability like you beat the village drum? Jyn Sung glanced west. Oh no, the sun is about to set. Seul clenched her fist, secretly curious. Park Jyn Sung, what exactly are you? But she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her hand. Startled, she opened her hand to reveal a few pieces of broken black plastic. Seul was surprised. What is this plastic? Jyn Sung looked at Jyn Sung, trying to salvage the messy situation between the two. Sergeant, the sun is setting. Why don't we end this scene and go home? Obviously, Jyn Sung was unwilling to let it go like that. He stood up, clutching his chest, furious. What the hell do you think you are to demand an end? He pointed at Jyn Sung and Se-hoon, angrily threatening you. Two better watch out if I report you to the teacher. Sergeant Jyn Sung is scared and whimpering. What did I do wrong? I just defended you. Do you think I'm being a bit harsh like this? Seol nodded, speaking up to defend Jyn Sung. This rookie warrior is indeed something. Just protecting your ugly face. Stop your nonsense, Jyn Sung. You're really full of tricks. He flashed a dangerous smile who said that he dropped a bombshell. I recorded it. Here we go again, being cautious. The more he talked, the more excited Jyn Sung became about the hidden camera footage. But Se-hoon suddenly raised his hand, pointing down to the ground. Are you talking about this hidden camera? The smile on his face suddenly vanished as he looked where she was pointing. What was on the ground was a shattered camera. Even the memory card was in pieces. Jyn Sung felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. In his ears echoed the annoying words of Min. Wait, is that a camera? I thought it was some kind of decoration. I saw you bring it up here. He scratched his head, laughing foolishly, sorry about that. I thought something was stuck on the wall. I thought it was a shock absorber. I didn't think it was yours. Sergeant, sorry. Yoon casually kicked the camera's broken pieces and said, wow. The camera's broken. It seems your plan has gone up in smoke, huh? What I want to know most right now is... She suddenly turned to grab Jyn Sung's shirt. Why did you block my punch? You were passive and didn't resist looking innocent. He awkwardly raised both hands, replying, I helped you, so why are you treating me like this? The guy named Do-hoon was confused because being an F rank and then Min-jun continued breaking the camera, is that skill or just luck? Jyn Sung and Se-hoon both looked at them. Se-hoon still gripping Jyn Sung's collar, pulling him along towards Min-jun and Do-hoon. Hey, Jyn Sung, stop struggling and follow me. If you want to go somewhere, then let me go first. Min-jun looked a bit scared. He stuttered. What Seol suddenly pushed Jyn Sung forward. Don't whine about being low rank anymore. Here is our rookie. Her unusual behavior made Jyn Sung very confused. But she didn't explain much, just warned Min-jun it's not too late, think it through. Min-jun seemed to understand what Se-hoon meant, staring blankly for a long time without getting up. And she didn't say much, turning to leave. Let's go, rookie Jyn Sung, follow me. Se-hoon acknowledged her. You really resemble Senior Unsung-ho. She didn't like hearing that. Immediately scolding Nonsense, who said I look like that pig-headed guy. With a bang, the door to the rooftop slammed shut. The light of the setting sun faded. A group of defeated people hung their heads. Jizong cursed, damn it, closing the chapter. The scene shifted from the rooftop to a dark room, a hand holding a dagger. A scream of fear echoed. The walls were stained with blood. The victim pleaded, please spare me. The moonlight shone into the room, casting a shadow on the wall. A young man with a knife approached the victim, waving his lost hand in panic, shouting, don't come here! The person looked at the young man covered in blood. Your monster is a creature whose scream echoes blood splattering against the front door. The young man walks. Blood-stained feet leave footprints all over the house. Someone whispers, you and Uncle are both the same, unexpectedly revealing that the young man is actually little Jyn Sung, who coldly asks, isn't that right? There is no response. He smiles eerily and asks again, isn't it, Uncle? Back to reality, the alarm clock beeps loudly. Jyn Sung jolts awake. The clock reads 6 o'clock in the morning. The alarm continues to ring incessantly. He holds his face, his complexion pale, eyes bewildered as the early sunlight gently shines into the room. Jyn Sung mumbles, it's that dream again. In the early morning, warm sunlight blankets the streets on the way. Se-hoon notices Jyn Sung's pale complexion lacking vitality, and she expresses concern, asking the intern, why do you look so strange today? Is something wrong? Jyn Sung smiles awkwardly, waving his hand, saying, no, I'm just a bit tired. But where are we going? Seol looks at the group of sergeants leading her team and says, I'm not sure because the teacher only told the sergeants, but since it's been assigned to the first aid classes, they might be there. The group moves in order, the sound of footsteps echoing. Someone curiously asks, but why are we going outside? Someone replies, I don't know either. Finally, Jizong stops at a bank and gestures for the whole team to stop. Seeing them, a friend speaks up, we're here. The ponytailed girl beside him asks, are you a student from high school Ho-un? The boy in the blue shirt laughs and jokes. It's the first time I've seen kids from Ho-un high school. Xiu, the girl standing in the middle of the three, smiles and asks, isn't it too late? Their mocking attitude touches Jizong's pride. He furrows his brow and steps forward, his face dark like someone who has just been insulted. Who are you? Xiu looks at him as if he were a monkey in a zoo, expressing her attitude. I'd rather watch Kim Soon than you. I've heard she's very beautiful and a genius. Feeling disrespected, Jyn becomes even angrier. Kim Seun is the team leader of my squad. If you want to say something, you can talk to me. Seo sarcastically replies, "Isn't this the ranking system I heard about before?" The girl beside also chimes in. "Their army role-playing looks really funny." Seo mocks him, saying, "Tell me, who does he think he is?" Jyn activates his pride, raising his hand to declare, "I am a student of Ho and Special Training High School Year 2 Squad 10 3rd Team. I ask again, who are you?" The ponytailed girl teases, "Are you making fun of us?" Seo retorts, "How did we meet you?" The officer's vocabulary to insult others is truly poor. He opens his mouth and only has one phrase, "You trash." Seo loudly asks, "What trash?" At this moment, a hand rests on her shoulder from behind, stopping her. "Hey, don't make a fool of yourself for the other schools." A foot in sneakers steps up to support Seo and her friends. "Sorry, our kids are a bit emotional. This is CEO Hoa." Upon seeing him, everyone gasps. "So handsome." "Who is he?" The polite CEO Hoa extends his hand, introducing, "We come from SEO Jong High School." He smiles warmly. "Nice to meet you, fellow student from Korea." But Jyn Sung brushes Seong Woo's handsome hand away. "Cut the act and explain." The boy in the blue shirt from earlier angrily curses, "You bastard." Seong Hoa smiles, calming his classmates. Everyone calm down. At this moment, Seong approaches the lieutenant. "Stop." She glared at Ji-won and warned him, "Don't you see our training points going down?" Ji-won looked away in annoyance, while Seol coldly glanced at Seong-hoon and the SEO Jong group. "You guys too." He looked at her with curious eyes, wondering if she was Kim Seol. Still wearing his harmless smile and gentlemanly demeanor, he extended his hand. "Nice to meet you, I am Lee Seong-hoon." Seol cautiously glanced at his hand. She didn't shake hands, but asked, "Our team is here for the first aid class, right? But why are the kids from SEO Jong here instead of them?" She tilted her head. "Can you explain this?" The cheerful CEO replied, "We are the first aid class students you are looking for." He introduced his group of 4. "We are the second-year first aid class from SEO Jong we are looking forward to today." 2 groups stood in front of the Nara Bank. We didn't understand why it was called a bank. After gathering everyone, we went inside only to hear about the class division. Cao Trung-hee opened the bank door and walked in. Someone said, "I think both schools have a good relationship with this bank. It would be better to reveal that there is a joint class from both schools inside." They met a serious-looking guard in a black suit standing watch, and the bank looked quite nice. Thanks to the car, the flowers looked around as if it was reserved for us. Since customers had become scarce, the guard stepped forward to greet us. "You are the students here for the internship." The group marveled at the muscular guards. "Wow, they are so big. Is this the strength of the security staff?" A foot in women's shoes stepped up, introducing, "Hello, we are second-year students from Squad 10 3rd Team of Cao Trung-hee." She had a sword slung over her shoulder. "Standing straight, I am team leader Kim Seul. I am looking forward to today." A guard commented, "Very young but mature." Another one laughed. Seul ignored their mocking attitude. "If there is anything we need to do today, please let us know." The guard laughed loudly, showing he was amused by Seul. "I like this kid." Almost to the point of wanting to hire her when she grows up, but she coldly replied, "I must decline." Jyn Sung sighed quietly. "We are being treated like children on this trip." In reality, the inside of the bank was quite quiet, not many customers, and the staff wasn't too busy. Seol leaned against the wall, thinking, "They completely underestimate our fighting ability." She sighed, taking down the sword slung over her shoulder. After all, not many students could work in a bank, but we needed more points. She noticed a friend passing by. She softly called out, "Excuse me, Lee Sung-hoon?" He smiled and walked over, teasing her, "You can call me Lee Sung-hoon," stretching out the Sung-hoon. It was clearly not appropriate to call a newly met person like that. "That's so cheesy." She coldly replied, "All right, Lee Sung-hoon," she instructed. "Divide the class into 4 and arrange them into temporary teams. We want to make a good impression on the bank." Looking at her classmates, they seemed quite relaxed. Sehun felt uneasy. "I'm not even sure if the teacher is here at this time." An older bank employee asked, "Do you students want some snacks or drinks?" Go-ye excitedly replied, "Really?" Jong-hoon immediately raised his hand. "I want some things." Seol frowned. They seemed quite lax, like children, and neither side was having serious conversations. A bank employee passed by her and Seol, asking, "Shall we go get some coffee? What about you guys?" "It's like machine-brewed coffee. Everyone can get other drinks." Sol immediately thought of coffee smoothies, ice cream, and such. She felt something was off here. She dropped the sword against the wall and skipped out to ask why any bank staff were so relaxed, of course, meanwhile, in another corner of the bank. Jyn Sung leaned against the wall, quietly observing everyone relaxing while he was lamenting to himself that not much was happening when suddenly Seong-hoon appeared. "Hello?" He approached too closely, making Jyn Sung feel a bit scared. "Not feeling comfortable, huh?" "Ah, hello," Sung-hoon asked if he had been next to Kim Sun before. Jyn Sung took a few seconds to realize that the person in front of him was probably a high school student, Seo-jong Lee Seong-ho. Why did he know I was next to Senior Kim Sun? A thought suddenly flashed through his mind, and he figured he understood his purpose. Jyn Sung cheerfully asked, "Do you want me to help you inquire about Sol? After all, that's my specialty." But surprisingly, Sol waved his hand. "No, that's not it." Jyn Sung pretended to be clueless, pulling out his empty pocket. "Or do you want me to go buy bread? But I didn't bring any money today." Seong-hoon found it amusing and said, "No, I don't need bread." Jyn Sung, confused, asked, "Not bread, then what is it?" Seong-ho replied, "I happen to be interested." He looked at Jyn Sung for a long time, deliberately prolonging his speech with him. Seong-ho smiled brightly and asked if he wanted something to drink. He pointed behind him at the vending machine over there. Jyn Sung nodded slightly. "Okay, then." He glanced around, wondering if he should report to the sergeant or the squad leader. But seeing his classmates around were quite relaxed and not in a guarding position, he thought it should be fine. At the vending machine, the two of them operated it, selecting drinks with a clatter. A can of soda fell into the compartment. Jyn Sung reached in to grab the can, popped the lid, and took a swig. Since it was carbonated water after taking a sip, Jyn Sung comfortably savored it. "So cold." Seong-hoon laughed. "Jyn Sung, you seem too carefree. Are you a hidden master of high school or something?" Hearing this, Jyn Sung nearly spat out the sip of water in his mouth, laughing. "I'm just pretending to be carefree." Seong-ho thought for a moment. He stood apart from his classmates and seemed out of sync, but why was he so carefree? Jyn Sung didn't care what he wanted to probe, pretending to laugh innocently. "That's my life motto." Seong-hoon, not giving up, asked further, "Really? That's so cool. What level is your overall combat skill?" Jyn Sung, trying to look cool confidently, replied, "Level F." His attitude was overly calm, and Seong-ho couldn't help but ask, "Are you kidding?" Seeing that he didn't believe him, Jyn Sung raised two fingers, laughing. "My Ida is also level F, the champion of double F." Seong-ho was even more skeptical. "You're teasing me, right?" Jyn Sung shrugged and smiled. "Well, I have to lie." CEO Hua looked at him with a question mark in his heart. "That's even stranger. Why is he so carefree?" Jyn Sung finished the can of soda and casually threw the empty can into the trash. "So what do you want to say?" The can hit the wall, bounced off the vending machine, and then fell into the trash. The van driver looked on, eyes wide open in shock, and immediately pointed at the trash can, asking, "How could you do that?" Awesome, Jyn Sung was asked and felt itchy. He replied naturally, "I just threw the can." But in the eyes of the flower car, it was a truly miraculous event. Then he raised his hand to admire it. "I also tried it. Jyn Sung cheered me on, come on." Unfortunately, the can of soda flew off and slipped away from the trash can, falling to the ground. Jyn Sung awkwardly remarked that he didn't have good reflexes either. He bent down to pick up the can, saying, "I'm really weak, that's why I chose the emergency route." The flower car walked over to the trash can, but Jyn Sung asked, "Aren't you a level F?" He threw the can into the trash can, questioning how a level F could survive in the combat class. Regarding this, he put his hands on his hips and laughed loudly, not feeling embarrassed at all as he shared, "I was supported by Kim Sung," and then he walked closer to Seong-ho, excitedly asking, "What's your EDA?" He hesitated. "Me. I am." He demonstrated, immediately swiping his hand to transform it into a sharp sword, his hand becoming a level EDA-C sword with comprehensive combat skills capable of turning his hand into a sword. Jyn Sung observed closely, nodding and saying, "Your EDA is great. Isn't it there's so much potential for development?" But Seong-hoa looked sad. "I've heard that for a long time, but it has never leveled up even once." He transformed back to a fist, tightening his hand. Jyn Sung exposed his intention. "You want to transfer to the combat class, so you're curious about how I survived, right?" Seong-hoa shyly scratched his head. "Oh yeah." Jyn Sung's expression was a bit gloomy, and not knowing what to think, he suddenly said, "Emergency skills are much better. You can save people. I think that's much better than an EDA that only knows how to fight. The flower car was confused, scratching his neck. He felt comforted by Jyn Sung's encouragement. Really? Jyn Sung bit his lip, feeling jealous. Of course. He turned to pat him on the shoulder. Be more confident and carefree. Jyn Sung quickly let go, feeling bitterly jealous. If only his EDA could save people, that would be great. To hide his emotions, he turned and walked away. A moment later at Nara Bank, the homeroom teacher, Shin, dressed in red sportswear, approached to meet with other teachers. Sorry for being late. The 6th grade homeroom teacher waited without blaming him, just informing that the kids had already gone in. Then he took out the student grading files. The middle school teacher was grading on time, too. Teacher Shin was surprised. Huh. But I haven't seen anything yet, the 6th grade teacher encouraged. It's fine, just grade it. He shrugged. Grade Cao Cao for the normal kids with good abilities. After all, they will learn something in the bank. It's just a formal training session. Teacher Shin praised, I've learned a lot from you. The 6th grade homeroom teacher laughed heartily. Good thing you're a cheerful person. The sound of the pen scratching on paper echoed as he finished grading. Let's go have coffee. The initial blank score sheet had been filled out. Hanyang Hyun DC Park Ho 1 DC Kim Suji DC Park Jyn Sung FF. The 6th grade homeroom teacher immediately put the score sheet away. Leading the group, I knew how to make this coffee delicious. Teacher Shin exclaimed, Wow, then I will follow your lead. The 6th grade homeroom teacher chuckled. I know the Heian middle school teachers will be very cheerful. Returning inside the bank was quite peaceful. A friend assigned to stand at the door with Gohei complained about how tiring it was to stand at the door like this. She nodded in agreement. Nothing was happening anyway. So the friend suggested to the sergeant to play rock, paper, scissors and buy drinks if they lost. Gohei chuckled. Sure, let's play. And the two started the game of rock, paper, scissors. The friend chose paper while Gohei chose rock, unaware that a group of armed individuals was approaching outside the door. Jong-hun, who was snacking, walked past them and called out a warning. Hey, someone is coming. While Gohei, having lost, asked the friend what to drink. The armed group got closer, and inside there were murmurs. Look at those outfits. Is it a cosplay group? Dido looked out surprised, exclaiming, What kind of outfit is that? Their chatter caught the guard's attention. He looked outside and immediately dropped the coffee cup in his hand, rushing out the door. Damn, the guard reacted very quickly. He shouted loudly at the students. With his quick reflexes, he reached the door in no time. Get out of the way, while the black-haired friend and Gohei were still confused about what was happening. What's happening? The black-haired friend asked. What do you mean? The guard immediately pushed the black-haired friend back. Get out of the way, while he stepped forward to block an incoming strike from the attacker. With a swift motion, the guard drew his Ida to block the opponent's attack, the two-section staff becoming increasingly firm with Ida C and comprehensive combat skill B, each impact making it harder as he blocked the large sword of the intruder. The guard shouted loudly, Run to the back door. The students, terrified, turned pale, reacting slowly. What's going on? What the hell is this, a monster? Is this a training exercise? The bank intruder spoke in a deep voice. It's useless. The sound of cracking echoed as the two-section staff in the guard's hand developed a crack. Seeing the students not running but standing frozen in place, he anxiously shouted, What are you doing, run? However, his opponent calmly said, See you again, and with a slash, the sound of the sword cutting through flesh echoed, blood splattering before Jong-hun and the ponytailed girl named Hayagi. Both were horrified, frozen in place, and a second later a deafening scream echoed throughout the bank as the guard fell while the one wielding the sword named Inyong led the charge. A catastrophe! Peste burst in, laughing coldly, Comrade Korean. Inyong's eyes gleamed with cruelty, the scar on his face making him look even more terrifying. Comrades, may I? The remaining bank guards rushed out. Who are you? Inyong, carrying the sword on his shoulder, assessed the two newcomers, smaller than the two guards, but he showed no fear. You seem strong. Can you make me happier than the previous comrade? The two guards were on high alert. One asked, What do you mean by that? Isn't that a North Korean accent? The other shouted, Are you a North Korean spy? Inyong found it amusing. Spy. I'm just here to have a little snack. He threw a bag on the ground. If you don't want to get your heads chopped off, fill this bag quickly. The guard clenched his lips in anger. Everyone to your positions, and then a group of guards stepped out. They stood shoulder to shoulder in a line. Inyong was displeased, feeling his words were not taken seriously. Comrades, didn't you hear me say to fill the bag? They stood shoulder to shoulder in a straight line, looking displeased because they felt their words were not taken seriously. The comrades in the department couldn't hear me telling them to fill the bag. Huh, When I used to call you comrade, you were obedient. The bank guard shouted angrily, "Shut up, you scumbag!" The bank robber, undaunted, laughed. "I don't know how my South Korean comrades are doing." With ears ringing and vision blurred, the guy swung his knife. "You weaklings, why do you keep rushing at me like moths to a flame?" Behind him, Seoul assessed the situation in horror. "We are no match for him. His energy far exceeds that of an ordinary person." As he said, "They are just like moths diving into the fire." The bank guard did not back down. He summoned a steel shield and commanded to block his sword and push him back. "We have students behind us." Seoul worriedly thought they would die in vain. She reached out to pull the guards back. Inyong slashed down, shattering the steel shield. "You comrades are blocking my way." Seoul glared at the gruesome scene before her. The bank guards fell in pools of blood and the screams of the survivors echoed. Jong-hun, pale with fear, leaned back. "Are they dead?" Someone collapsed on the floor, groaning. Seoul struggled to swallow. He took down a B-level defense Ada with just one blow, which was quite strong, but his attack pierced through it effortlessly. Inyong felt unsatisfied. It had just been a one-sided massacre. Was that all there was? "You guys are too obsessed with peace." He swung his hand, flicking the blood off the blade. "Is it okay to use these useless guards?" Seoul assessed the leader of the bank robbery gang. His combat skills must be at least A-level, one of the strongest here. She shouted, "Everyone get it together." She turned to her classmates. "Where's the command? Get out of here." Her friends, terrified, turned pale and felt weak, but for their lives they tried to move. Someone shouted, "Everyone run to the table!" Inyong did not chase after him. He found it amusing and decided to tease, "Have you all decided to become bank employees? Should I pull a waiting ticket from the machine?" Seoul raised her hand, commanding everyone, "Summon your Ida. From now on, sergeants lead your teams." The sound of waiting tickets being pulled rang out. Inyong continuously pressed the button to get a ticket, still smiling. "Can I take a little money?" Jang-hun and another classmate hid behind a table. He fearfully held his head. How did this happen? The other friend was better off holding a baton, but he was trembling all over. Shul remained quite calm, commanding, "Don't lose your will. We must hold on. Until the police or teachers find us." Inyong kicked the black bag forward. "Don't be so cold. Aren't we supposed to help each other?" Seoul squinted, feeling anxious inside. What should I do? She wasn't sure if she could fight him alone. The scumbags behind him looked strong too. Inyong continued, "Our bags are a bit empty, so we want to seek some help." "Is every South Korean bank this cold to customers?" He looked at Seoul behind the counter and asked, "What's your name, comrade? You seem quite brave." She replied, "Kim Seoul." Inyong, with the knife on his shoulder, smiled in a way he thought was friendly. "Brave, huh? Why don't you answer my question? What do you think I should do to get money from there?" A few bank employees in Seoul tried to make her stall for time even just a little, so she deliberately dodged the guy's question and tried to inquire about the situation. "Because those guys went to rob a bank in those outfits, so it seems not." "Shouldn't spies be like a group of people escaping from the beam? He doesn't look like a poor wretch, so she was curious about his purpose, not for money, right?" Inyong found it annoying to be called a spy, so he clarified that if they kept calling him a spy, he might have to introduce himself first. Feeling uneasy, she was secretly astonished that a criminal dared to reveal his identity. Inyong didn't care much. He raised his hand to introduce the whole group, saying he didn't know if they had heard of them yet. "We are the Disaster Corps of Seoul." Surprised, she furrowed her brows tightly. It was a group with no clear history, no distinct clothing, no racial discrimination, and no class distinction. No rank distinction. A terrorist group operating against humanity worldwide. Wherever they pass, not even an ant can survive. They are a ruthless gang, the only characteristic being that no one survives. Her friend in the blue shirt from high school was scared to death. He turned pale with fear. They even have people in North Korea. Inyong was not too pleased with their reaction. He kicked the pile of order slips on the ground and said, "I said we are the Disaster Corps. Why do you guys call it a disaster? These Koreans have been too westernized. Anyway, if you understand, then give me the money." Sehun fell to the ground, mumbling, and her friend took a whip and approached the large handbag to put the money in. "We just need to give him everything. If we do that..." While speaking, she suddenly fell silent because she saw Seoul transforming. Inyong seemed to find something interesting. He laughed unexpectedly as a horn sprouted from Sehun's forehead. She entered a combat stance, her expression cold and indifferent, warning her classmates to stay calm. "He never said he wouldn't harm us after we give him the money." Inyong looked at her with interest. That horn, that hair, I get it now. Sol stepped out from behind the counter. It seemed he knew her family, so it would be easy to fight. He said that, but she was still worried. If his men rushed in, there would be no hope left. She had to trick him into a one-on-one fight because he seemed to be the leader. Inyong smiled, enjoying it. Well, you're smart. I'm sure you're wondering if I'm being fooled by you. Zhul shrugged. I'm just a student. You won't gang up on me, right? Behind the desk, Go-hee was scared and curled up. Inyong snapped his fingers to signal his underlings not to interfere. I like that courage. But it wouldn't be surprising if you came from a crazy goblin family. You must be crazy, right? Seeing that the guy still didn't meet his expectations, Sehun provocatively said, You're talking too much. So are you planning to fight me or not? The terrorist Inyong laughed a cute challenge indeed. He slammed his sword down onto the ground with a clang, revealing a terrifying smile of an executioner. All right, then. I accept that challenge, you goblin. Inyong raised his sword, pointing it towards Sol. Go ahead, girl. Are you daring enough to let me attack first? You must be quite confident. Inside, he sighed in relief. Thankfully, her challenge worked. He couldn't go back on his word in front of his subordinates. If she defeats him, she can survive. Sol reached her hand behind her back as usual to draw her sword, still thinking that she had to win to survive. But unfortunately, there was nothing behind her. This made her a bit panicked. Sol held her breath for a few seconds. Where's her sword? A memory suddenly flashed. She had put it down during the break. Why did she have to pull that bad habit now? While she was panicking and looking back, Inyong darkened his face and attacked her. Where are you looking, girl? He slashed horizontally. If you don't attack, I'll go first. Thankfully, Sol reacted quickly, leaning back to avoid a strike. The blade swished past her face, powerfully slicing through the concrete ceiling above which rumbled and collapsed right after she dodged the sword. Sol had to spin away from where she was standing, narrowly escaping death. She paled slightly at the sight of the concrete debris. If she got hit just once. A thought flashed through her mind, but thanks to that strike, Sol picked up a large piece of concrete and threw it at Inyong, jumping up to use it like a surfboard. Now she had something to use. He sensed the unusual energy behind the concrete, a bit surprised, but he quickly turned and slashed hard, shattering that concrete piece. Sneak attack, huh? Where's the courage you had earlier? It was discovered. Sol jumped back and landed on the ground. Damn it! Inyong glared at her, who had been dodging all this time. He mocked, flying around, huh? You must be a goblin, not a flying squirrel. While taunting him, he still didn't forget to swing his sword. Sehun, without a weapon, could only use his agile body to dodge, hiding behind the trading desk, his friend from the first aid team poking his head up to comment. He's fighting the boss with the sword! Jong-hun praised Kim Sehun amazing, so they cheered for her, Kim Soon's cheers gradually echoing throughout the office. Kim Soon hid deep inside. Jyn Sung was at a loss for words, his mind racing. This isn't the time to cheer. What should he do? You hide with Lee Seon-hwa, he excitedly said. Now I know why he's famous. He's fighting the boss of Pesta. Jyn Sung turned to Lee Seon-hwa, placing a hand on his shoulder. This situation is completely unbalanced. We have to run right now. Seung-hoon, confused, replied, Run now, but which way? Jyn Sung looked around and then up at the ventilation duct. Going up there is the best option. The toilet, the cabinet under the table, anywhere that makes it hard for them to find us. Meanwhile, Sol was still trying to dodge Inyong's sword. Jyn Sung instructed everyone, We have to buy as much time as possible. Just as he finished speaking, Sol was hit in the stomach by the sword thrown back by Inyong. Sol fell to the ground, struggling to sit up against the glass. Inyong approached, grinning. It's time to wrap up this cat-and-mouse game. How do you feel about that? Sewell clutched her chest and coughed up a mouthful of fresh blood. Her classmates were startled. Is Kim Sewell defeated already? Is there anyone among us stronger than Kim Sewell? Are we doomed? Inyong pointed his blood-stained dagger at Sewell, slightly disappointed, asking her if that was all she had. She smiled and said maybe so. Why don't you check me out? The guy grinned, feeling that this game could come to an end. Even at the last moment, she was still a troublesome woman. Just as he raised the dagger, Jin suddenly slammed the table and shouted for everyone to scatter right after no one had time to react. What's going on? He had grabbed the shirt of the flower delivery guy and was running away. I'm running here! Dong-hun was stunned for a moment after seeing that. He and his classmates ran towards the emergency exit. Run! The girl running alongside was yelling as she ran up the stairs, tears welling in her eyes. Dong-hun was no different, running while cheering, "If we get caught, we'll die, run." Thanks to the chaos just now, Inyong had paused and Sehun had also escaped a fate. The guy scratched his head, so they had decided quickly. He asked his teammates what they thought. The team members were very obedient. No one acted without orders. One person asked, "What are your orders, sir?" Inyong issued the command to capture all the comrades of that rat bastard. The masked soldiers saluted and replied, "Yes, comrade," and then the group split up to chase after those who had just fled. Inyong curiously thought, "Let's see how that comrade is different." But those stupid South Koreans didn't move at all. This elf girl was stalling for time. Where would she run to? The sound of 6 footsteps echoed in the emergency stairs. He concluded they would eventually be caught. Sul wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, feeling confused. He ordered his men to catch them, so he didn't intend to kill them. She stood up to continue facing Inyong. If she could buy a little more time, the guy smiled with delight. "I like your toughness. You've proven to be a more useful girl than I am, right?" Suddenly he spoke up. "Do you want to join me?" Sehun immediately waved his hand to refuse. "What the hell, no way." Inyong raised an eyebrow, advising her to think more carefully. "Women line up to be with me." Seoul expressed her disdain. "How can I trust a bank-robbing terrorist without any evidence?" Inyong began to introduce himself. "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Kim Inyong." Seoul was startled and stepped back. He smiled and shared his nickname, the Son of North Korea. This time, Seoul truly paled. Kim Il-young, the greatest leader of North Korea, commanding the greatest army of North Korea. The greatest politician of North Korea, the one with the strongest EDA in North Korea, a true monster with those titles. In-young stated, "I have a lot to worry about becoming the son at such a young age. I need a talented wife by my side." Seon panicked and thought to herself, "No way. Why would Kim In-young come to a gathering himself?" She involuntarily stepped back, seeing that he stepped forward. "Why are you suddenly backing away?" "This is why I usually don't reveal that name." Seoul trembled all over, her voice stuttering. "Isn't Kim In-young supposed to exchange the reward?" "It must be a lot since you are a world-famous criminal, right?" She mumbled to reassure herself. "I could buy cookies for my friend with that reward." In-young laughed loudly. "Ha ha, in this situation, you're still so bold laughing like that." The guy squinted his eyes, evaluating Seoul, so this is why they didn't want him to come here in person. "Isn't this what they are targeting? Ordering a bank robbery with students inside, doesn't that mean they want to exploit those students? Coming here really was worth it." In-young put down her weapon, trying to persuade the girl the winner has been decided. "Shouldn't you behave while I still enjoy this? What about you right now?" Seoul had backed up against the corner where she had previously left her sword. It's surprising that the winner was decided so early. "You kicked the sword up with your foot. I almost died trying to jump back to this spot." "Did your actions surprise In-young?" Sehun caught the sword with a weapon in her hand. She felt much more confident. "I still have a lot to learn." She drew her sword. The energy around her suddenly surged, "But I want to use my power properly." Sehun smiled. "I need a sword in the long hallway." Several students were being chased by people in black clothes. One girl panicked and ran so fast that she tripped. A person with a covered face and black clothes pulled the girl up. "Follow me." She screamed in fear. "Let me go." I said, "Let go." The people in black led that girl away, along with Jong-hun and all the captured students taken to a room. At the same time, on the other side in the men's restroom of the bank, Jyn Sung and Seung-hoon were panting heavily. Hiding inside a restroom, Jyn Sung looked up, scratching his head, sighing. "It must be because this is a bank that it's so clean here, right?" Seung-hoa worriedly turned around and asked Jyn Sung, "Should we go up higher? This is only the 5th floor and the other kids are going up higher." He casually sat down on the toilet lid, replying, "It will be fine, just stay calm." Jyn Sung smiled, waving his hand as if to guide him. "Just breathe for now." Seung-hoa frowned and asked again, "Jyn Sung, are you okay?" Jyn Sung's face was confused as he looked up at him, asking back, "Huh?" Seung-hoon recalled the bloody scene in the lobby earlier, thinking to himself, if we get caught, we might end up like those security guards. Yet he still looked completely fine. He glanced away, responding, "Nothing's wrong." Seung's voice echoed in the space. "Anyway, if we stay here, we will be caught at any moment. Do you think we should quickly run away?" He pulled the hand of the person sitting in front of him, suggesting to go up higher, but Jyn Sung remained seated, not standing up, analyzing silently in his mind. If it were Sehun, she would resist for a while, but in the end, Jyn Sung swung his arm out of Seung-hoon's hand, affirming that running away would be useless. He pounded his chest, declaring, "We have to fight them." Seung-hoon was startled by his words, stepping back. What he hurriedly advised, Can't you see those security guards over there? Even trained adults can't fight them. What do you think we a bunch of CNF guys can do against them? Jyn Sung's 2 hands were neatly placed on his legs when he suddenly asked a question full of implications. Lee Seung-hoon, do you think souls have a reputation? Seul-hoa couldn't understand. Naturally, she asked, what are you talking about? Jyn Sung recounted that he had overheard something earlier. He recalled what he had heard back then, that Kim Seul's fighting ability was once ranked D when she was young, but now she is ranked A. Ji Sung firmly asserted that he didn't think EDA could be an ultimate standard for judging people. There's no need to be sad about your rank. Seung-hoa glared at him, her face completely blank at that moment as the elevator doors opened in the hallway. People dressed in black, their faces covered, were standing inside the restroom. Seung-hoa was sweating profusely with worry and said, Jyn Sung, the reason you're talking about this now is because... The feet in black high-top shoes were stepping cautiously down the hallway. Upon hearing footsteps from outside, they became alert. I think they have arrived. What do we do now? We have to hide. From inside the restroom, Jyn Sung's voice came, Lee Seung-hoon, you have a much better EDA than I do. If you put your all into it, you can add all sorts of amazing improvements. Outside, the man in black had also reached the restroom door. Seung-hoa completely ignored what he said and turned to face the door, reminding him to be quiet. They will find us, Jyn Sung. Jyn Sung placed his hand directly on his shoulder and called out, Seung-hoa, listen here. CEO Eung-hoa looked confused, tilting his head to face him. What? Jyn Sung leaned slightly forward, staring seriously at him. Just trust me, and from now on, do what I say. Inside the restroom, all the rooms were fitted with white ceramic sinks. A man in black entered loudly, demanding, You bastards, we heard you come out! He leaned one hand on his hip, his tone extremely arrogant as he threatened, The leader doesn't like slowpokes. Jyn Sung opened the restroom door, poked his head out, and smiled at him. Your dialect is really something. Can you teach me? The man in black angrily cursed, You bastard, don't joke around. The leader will understand if your legs or arms disappear during the capture. Jyn Sung kept smiling as he stepped outside. Now that your leader is gone, you sure talk a lot. That's impressive. The man in black shouted loudly, This bastard! Jyn Sung narrowed his eyes and shouted to activate his EDA. A dagger appeared in his hand as he pointed it directly at him. He mocked, What is this? Are you trying to tell me that this is your soul's essence? The man in black also used his EDA. His legs were emitting light. Stop talking nonsense and be quiet! He shouted as he lunged towards Jyn Sung at lightning speed. Accept being captured. The information display showed the content legs accelerating from 0 to 100 in 1 second, EDA rank B, overall fighting ability B. Once you start running, you will accelerate from 0 to 100 in 1 second. Jyn Sung was monitoring the situation in front of him while instructing the person in the restroom. Lee Seung-hoon, you have to run like I told you before, okay? Jyn Sung was monitoring the situation in front of him while instructing Lee Seung-hoon, who was in the restroom. You have to run like I told you before, okay? The man in black clothing lunged very close to you, intending to run away, but I will have to capture both of you. The eyes behind Jyn Sung's glasses glinted with a red light. An information panel appeared, stripping away the absolute life of the combat ability S. The body's capability would triple compared to normal, and a wave of oppressive black energy radiated from Jyn Sung. In front of him, the man in black was still rushing towards him. He stopped right in front of Jyn Sung and moved his arm extremely quickly, swinging his fist to attack. Jyn Sung gently leaned aside and was able to dodge his punch. He was too slow. The man trembled with rage, cursing the bastard, while the other had not yet reacted. Then a slash struck straight into his chest. Jyn Sung did not stop, but pressed in to slash repeatedly at various points on his body, using force to drive the blade down. Laughing maniacally, Ha ha ha, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry. The mask covering the head of the man in black was torn by the blade. He struggled to hold Jyn Sung's hand, moaning, You are actually a crazy bastard. Jyn Sung smirked, his eyes slightly narrowed, as if searching for something on the man in black. Finally, he glanced down, focusing on his legs. Jyn Sung suddenly exclaimed, Surely accelerating from 0 to 100 in 1 second would be convenient, right? The information panel displayed the content legs accelerating from 0 to 100 in 1 second. E to B, overall combat ability B. Once you start running, you will accelerate from 0 to 100 in 1 second. The man in black stared wide-eyed. Is that my soul? Do you see my soul? Jyn Sung excitedly laughed, pulling out the bloody dagger. What if I cut your Achilles heel? A stream of blood spurted from one side of the man in black's chest. He pondered, asking what would happen if what you needed to activate your Ida was destroyed. Jyn Sung pinned him down to the ground, his eyes flashing red, speculating that perhaps your name would drop. He continued to raise the dagger in his hand. Should I pin it here? There are many possibilities. I can't choose. Humans will be submerged in the desire to end the lives of others. The man in the taxi trembled, calling out to Jyn Sung. Jyn Sung stopped his actions, remaining silent, slowly tilting his head toward him. Seong-hoon Jun could no longer stand firm. Jyn Sung's face was now smeared with blood, curiously asking, "Did you call me?" Seong-hoon, not receiving an answer, asked again, "What's wrong, Seong-hoon? Why are you calling me?" Seong-hoon's white leather shoes stepped back to avoid the bloodstains on the ground. His body trembled weakly, urging him to stop and just run away. Jyn Sung laughed twice. "Ha ha, you're mistaken. Who do you think needs to run right now?" He stood up, dragging the man in black, who was no longer moving, to stand up as well. "Answer me, Seong-hoon." He trembled upon hearing Jyn Sung's voice calling his name. Seong-hoon must destroy Ida or end the opponent's life to effectively conclude it. In Jyn Sung's eyes reflected the image of Seo-eung-hwa. With a face full of panic and trembling, he called out, "Jyn Sung!" His presence calmed Jyn Sung down after the bloodthirst, and he stammered, "Lee Seo-eung-hwa." Suddenly, he clutched his face in pain. Then he unexpectedly lunged at the enemy and shouted loudly, "Leave!" Jyn Sung's glasses fell to the ground as he dove toward the enemy. Then he controlled this person. While shouting at Seo-eung-hwa, "Hurry up, run quickly, Seo-eung-hwa." However, he still looked a bit confused and exclaimed, "Jyn Sung." At that moment, Jyn Sung suddenly said, "Once my hand turns into a blade." While he was frantically slashing at the enemy, he loudly asked, "Does that mean my body has become a solid sword?" "It should be able to. Right or not?" Your question made Seong-hoon hesitate, unsure of how to respond, and he could only call Jyn Sung before turning around and leaving. While following Jyn Sung's instructions to run, he shouted loudly, "I'm sorry for having to run ahead." At that moment, only Jyn Sung remained in the restroom, mumbling to himself as if he had lost control. "That's still not enough. That thing. He really saw you suddenly talking to yourself. The guy you hit is still strong enough to mock you. Are you out of your mind?" Annoyed that this guy dared to insult him, Jyn Sung shot a sharp look at him and said, "You're not happy at all." "I will have 13 rounds. Your words made him a bit scared, exclaiming, "13 rounds in this situation." And he was still thinking about reporting this to the boss, not expecting that there was a jerk hiding his strength in such a situation. "I need to report to the leader somehow." Of course, Jyn Sung wouldn't let this guy carry out his actions. He sent him off to the afterlife and calmly mumbled, "I don't even know," at the same time in the control room. Seun, with a sharp sword in hand, said that he finally understood that the one fighting with her was Inyong, who seemed to highly appreciate her beauty but also looked down on her abilities. A beautiful sword combined with a face she wasn't angry at being underestimated, but instead challenged him. "You will change your mind when I use it to hit you, right?" This action made Inyong even more interested. "So you think you can face me now?" Immediately, the guy swung his sword towards Seol, but she quickly used her sword to block it, both of them clashing fiercely. Suddenly, Seol said, "Not so fast." Inyong was surprised and asked, "What did you just do?" "You deflected my soul sword. Your sword possesses divine energy." Responding to the guy's question was Sehun's mocking tone. "How would I know anything about your Ada?" He thought that ridiculous attack of his was not due to strength, but rather the influence of Ada. Inyong didn't care about this remark, and secretly thought she should slice along the sword if it was hard to use. The guy looked at the sword with interest and remarked, "That's quite a strange sword." He realized the potential of this sword. That sword truly has the ability to be the weakness of the soul sword. At that moment, Seol casually spoke about the sword in his hand. "Everyone says I have the potential to have my family heirlooms stolen because of the rumors about this sword. According to what the system indicated, the sword was meant to confront the strong with 4 tiger killers among the constellations. The sword is likened to a storage place for the power of the stars, and based on the user's ability, it can shatter Ida." Speaking of this, Seol coldly declared, "The important thing is that I can merge with this sword." As soon as she finished speaking, she unleashed the technique of merging the spirit sword, and the system sent a notification about the merging technique, creating a replica with physical attack power, making Seon want to recruit Inyong to his team. "You're truly special. You really don't want to join my side?" Of course, Seon's answer was no. My family may be impatient, but a jerk like you I absolutely won't accept. Seeing her wanting to refuse him, Inyong decided to deal with her right away. It would be quite embarrassing to kill her like this, wouldn't it? Such a waste, but I can't. The strong guy swung towards Seol and shouted loudly, "I can't play with you anymore!" Of course, with Seol's current abilities, it was a bit challenging to stop Inyong's strength. Therefore, her clones were easily wiped out by him in that moment. Therefore, her clones were easily eliminated by the guy at that very moment. Inyong took the opportunity to send her off to the heavens. The woman now shows no fear. It's not just Sehun who has to withstand the relentless blows from the guy not stopping even for a second. The guy attacks frantically and confidently claims that it seems he has the upper hand. Obviously, Sehun wouldn't let herself be in a weak position. She loudly asserts that it's not over yet and continues to use her old techniques to gather links for her skills. The copies of Seol simultaneously attack, trying to block him once again. While countering with Inyong, she quickly thinks of a way to neutralize his attack. He swings his sword very quickly and heavily, but if she attacks while he is blocking her move... What? Although it's a bit tough, she still tries her best in that situation. Finally, she has to admit that fighting with Inyong seems to be beyond her capabilities. Damn it, she can't withstand it. After a while of fighting, Inyong seems to be enjoying himself. Seol, I really like you. In this situation, Seol has to admit that, damn it, he is far superior to her in direct attacks. Seeing her deep in thought, Inyong mocks her. Are you thinking that you can catch up to my abilities? Obviously, she feels a bit offended because she can't fight back against him, but it can't be helped. Now she can only hold him off, which hurts her pride. But I won't play that foolish game and prolong the time with illusions that still won't give up. Inyong continues to persuade her, "Don't you think my skills are enough for you to consider joining my side?" Sehun's answer remains the same. It's still not enough. In her mind, she tries to think of a way to hold him off for as long as possible, just as she plans to attack once more. Suddenly, there are screams that make her turn back. Her friends are all captured by the enemies, leaving them no choice but to call for me. "I'm sorry, please save me." The current situation leaves Seol in shock. They have already captured a few of them. Why are they coming in from outside? The absence of anyone rescuing the hostages makes her realize that in this chaotic state, there are usually police or military surrounding them. They can't act because of the hostages. At this moment, Inyong turns to ask a subordinate, "Aren't any of the comrades going up the stairs from behind?" "Why did you bring the comrades from the north inside?" A subordinate quickly replies, "Yes, sir, we split into two groups. The bastards from the north rushed in through the window in the corner. They have divided the groups to make it easier to capture, choosing a nest of students while the rest wait outside to catch those jumping through the window. Other groups are checking to see if anyone is left behind. Comrades who haven't returned are now going upstairs to check if there are any remaining from the north."